Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. Whole day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Now who gotta move rockin' on? Now who wanna move crossin' on? Now who wanna move out on? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah we got 'em, yeah we fought 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em, bingo bottle, never stop it till the beast of Eastern know 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossin' on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen, we gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite.
Bengals and Brews. I'm Del Altman, joined by two very special guests today. We got Newt Westen, Packers fan. Don't hate him. He's a good guy. We love Newt. And also, you all know the man at the very bottom, Parker Blake, the absolute legend. Peter Parker Blake, just the absolute – he's a power peanut in himself, just like our guy Willie Lampkin.
I don't think anyone's
up,
ever
boys?
called me a peanut. I don't think I've ever been referred to as something so small, so I appreciate that.
Well,
Dale,
Ryan Sparks gave Willie Lampkin that name, and I just feel like that's also a cool name for you.
You know, we're not too far off in size. I gotta say. Me and Willie. So,
No doubt.
Dale, I gotta mention, I was sitting here for the intro and I was like, I think it's the third time I've been on here. I don't think I've been a part of a podcast that's got more of a hyped up intro video. Like every time I'm on the start of this, I'm like, man, let's go. Like, let's hop in a boxing ring and just go 7 rounds because that intro video is stellar.
it's so
Hey, I
fire, dude.
appreciate
Like
it,
that's
man.
the song's fire, the graphics are fire. It's just well put together, brother.
Really, really well, yeah.
Hey, I do what I can, I do what I can. But we talked
Do a
before
good
the
job
show.
of it.
Thank you. I'm going to pick first overall. Newt is going to go second, and Parker's going to go third. When we get to the Bengals pick, we'll stop and talk about that just a little bit since we are a Bengals-related podcast. But I'm going to start it right off. I'm not going to take a ton of time here with Tennessee. I think they're pretty much set on Cam Ward at quarterback. So that's going to be my pick, just right off the rip. Just put it up there. How do you guys feel about Cam Ward being that selection?
I like that. I mean, it's consensus. I saw a tweet from Trevor Sikkema earlier today, like referring back to someone that was complaining about Cam Ward not going 1, and he said like on the PFF simulator they have it programmed where it almost exclusively puts Cam Ward at number 1 just because of the likelihood. It just makes all the sense in the world. I totally agree with that. I don't think it's one that you have to think about too much.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't love Cam Ward as like the number 1 overall player in this class, but I do think it's the most realistic thing for Tennessee to do, and I do think it's what they're going to do. So I mean, that all makes sense. So I can't complain.
I did have a mock where
Carter's
threw
number
Travis,
1 on my board.
Yeah, I had a mock where I threw Travis Hunter first overall. Kind of one of those things to switch it up, and it definitely threw it into a little bit of flux. I agree with that. Like, Ward's not number 1 on my board, but I think it's what's going to most likely happen.
All right, where do you want me to go to look here for the Cleveland Browns on the clock? You've got the pick here at number 2. No.
We're gonna go Travis Hunter here. I'm not gonna mince things too much with this. I think, and I don't think that Joe Flacco going to Cleveland precludes them from taking a quarterback. So I'm not saying that this is like, oh, that signing definitely makes it happen. But I think Cleveland's in such a way right now where rather than like taking throws at a dartboard, they really got to hit a home run. And I think Travis Hunter for sure is going to be that home run for them. So, I'm going to go Travis Hunter, number 2 overall to the Cleveland Browns.
All right, Parker, you are up on the clock, number 3 with the New York Giants. We're not going to do trades. I'll go ahead and say that because it'll just take way too damn long. But this is a spot I could see them potentially trading.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot that could go into this pick. I think it's kind of an interesting pick because I think, the default is probably an Abdul Carter, who I'll probably go with here at 3. But I kind of like I kind of like it being, like a good spot for Armin Membu. I think getting an offensive lineman in New York would be really interesting because just building that front up, it's been an issue for them for quite some time. But I do think they're in a situation where they just need to stack the best players they can. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get some extra capital, but Abdul Carter's got to be the guy for me right here.
Yeah, he's number one on my board, so I cannot complain if that's the route they go. And they did have him in for a visit this week, so I think that's a good, solid pick to put on the board at number 3.
For sure.
Now, the Patriots, they can't be happy. I mean, I think they would love if one of those top 2 guys fell, and top 2 not being a quarterback since they have Drake May, and that's Hunter and Carter. But in this scenario, both are off the board. So I'm going to look at offense. I have their needs on my sheet as left tackle guard. I mean, O-line in general, they could use a wide receiver. Ted McMillan maybe be in the conversation. Running back, I don't think they'd take Genty here at 4 overall. But I'm leaning tackle is where I'm at with this pick. Will Campbell's there. I don't know why this thing. It's probably my internet stuff. I may have to type in. I'm actually thinking about Minbu here. But I don't know how I can get him to show up. Y'all have live shows, boys.
Hey, they're trying to force the pick on you right here, man.
Yeah, I know. It shows one player at a time at each position. I haven't used this one, but NFL mock draft database was not coming up before the show, so I'm using Pro Football Network. I can type in the name, so that'll work if nothing else, if we got an idea of the player. So there's Minbu. I'm putting him on the board. So even if it's not the top guy at the position, I can type stuff in like that. So Armand Minbu's the pick. I think him and Will Campbell, they're honestly neck and neck in my rankings anyways. But I just think Minbu probably has the higher upside being 20 years old. The guy is an athletic freak. His arm length was one of the things I was worried about, only being around 6'3", 6'4". But the arm length checked out just fine. So that's kind of the last thing I needed to see checked off for him. So with that being the case, I'm going to put him on the board here, pick 4 for New England.
No, I like that. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think he's athletic enough that he can really do what he wants to. I think he's a solid player. I got Jacksonville. This is I've said this a couple times. This has become the most boring pick possible because I do it every time and I don't regret it any single time. And I'm going to take Mason Graham to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their top need, in my opinion, is defensive interior. There is 2 blue chip players, in my opinion, left on the board. And I think they have that need that just staring them in the face. I love Mason Graham in this situation, being an opportunity to kind of come in and really impact a defense that has its edges set, but really needs that presence inside. So Mason Graham, Jacksonville Jaguars, 5th overall.
I like it. It's hard for me to pass on him when he's there too. So pick 6, Parker, you have the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, no, I think this Raiders spot's super interesting. I think this is a sneaky trade down spot. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see them just kind of get out of this spot and go get a guy a little lower that they think would be more of a instant impact that can help them, more long term. I think Gene T's a fun pick for a lot of people here. I just don't know how realistic it is for their current situation. I really like this cornerback class. I don't think it'd be bad for them to grab a receiver here. Again, just a lot of options for them. Man, I was thinking about getting a little spicy and like maybe reaching for a guy that I really like just on my personal board. But again,
sprinkle that all over it.
I don't know. We're being predictive. We've been kind of chalk so far. I can't be the weirdo just yet.
Yeah, I mean, you can go anywhere you want, baby.
I mean, I think this is a fun spot to even talk about a guy like a Malachi Starks or a Nick Emenwari, one of these safeties where they could just be a more flexible back end player, where Emenwari could be flexible as a linebacker, Starks could be flexible as a perimeter corner and a deep safety, in my opinion, depending on what schemes you're trying to run. Like, I think that'd be a really good spot for them to go. And I kind of want to go Starks because I really like Malachi Starks. So I'm just going to do it, and I'll get yelled at for it later. That's fine by me.
I like where we're at on the Scoville scale. That's awesome. That's good stuff.
All right, I'm gonna go find that. That is a surprise pick for me. I know Greg is very high on Starks. I kind of, think Starks could be the pick. I think you took him, Parker, in the other mock you're doing, did you not, for the Bengals?
I sure did at 17.
Yeah, so he's not touching that in this mock draft, and but it sounds like Georgia's very high on Starks. Great character, going to learn the playbook immediately. Going to be a day one starter, most likely wherever he goes, like he was at Georgia. So I think it's a surprising pick a little bit with the safety going that high, but it's also just a damn good player. So
Draft good football players when
Spice
your
it
team
up,
is
right?
not good.
Yeah.
And Jets are on the clock.
I like Starks a lot.
Jets are on the clock, and another team I feel like could go a lot of directions. Offensive tackle. I don't know that the defensive tackle would be here, but if Graham did fall, I think he'd be in the conversation. He's off the board here. I mean, they could go edge. I don't see them going Shador or a quarterback here, but, I mean, I guess you could never completely rule that out. But I'm going to go with who I consider the best tight end in this draft, and that's Tyler Warren from Penn State. I'm giving the Jets a tight end. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe they won't go that direction, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. So we're going to mix it up. I haven't taken that for him. We did a first rounder on Wednesday, and I went a completely different direction. I think I went with an offensive tackle like a Will Campbell or a Mimbu there. But I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to go with my guy from Penn State.
I've always been a big believer in, when you have quarterback struggles, you have a young quarterback, whatever the situation might be out of those two, a tight end always helps that quarterback look better, and that quarterback always leans on that tight end, especially when, maybe the offensive line isn't great. Maybe you're going to be in tight situations where you kind of need to milk some clock, but you don't have a great run game. A tight end's a really great piece when you're having a little bit of quarterback swing or transition. I love that pick personally.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good for Justin Fields, especially if he tries to really revitalize his career there. Whatever ends up happening, I think Tyler Warren is going to be one of the best offensive players to come from this year's draft. So totally echo all of that. I've got the Panthers up here. I'm going to follow. If Parker's pick was like a Carolina Reaper, I'm going to hit him with not a Scotch bonnet, maybe more like a Poblano or something like that. It's a little spicy. It's nothing too crazy. It's a guy that I'm really high on. I think Carolina Panthers need an edge rusher in a bad way ever since they got rid of Brian Burns. Do it. I am going to go with my guy, Nick Skirton, and we're going to make him a top.
Oh.
Wow, I was expecting Mike Green, Shamar Stewart. And
I thought that was
Jalen
Shamar
Walker.
for sure.
No. Shamar's teammate, Nick Skirton.
Yeah.
I'm higher than Nick Skirton. I love this guy. I think his best football is in front of him. I think if you look at 2023 Purdue, you see a guy that's a dude. That A&M film from all three of those guys last year, both Shamar's and Skirton, I don't love, but Skirton is my guy for sure, and I'm going to plant my flag really quick with him on Carolina.
Hey, I like it because a lot of people are sick of everyone doing the same mock drafts, having the same players going the same places. Not here, not on Bengals and Brews, not with Newt and Parker and myself here. We're spicing things up. I love it. Parker,
That's why you come here, folks.
Absolutely. You're up with the Saints because when the draft actually happens, you may get 3 or 4 picks that play out the way you have them. And then it's pure chaos. It's trades. It's players you didn't expect to go to different spots. So, hey, it's going to happen. So let's do it here and have some fun.
I keep talking about that all the time where it's like, as fun as it is to go with the chalk mock and, you feel like you're with consensus, those get blown up in the first 3-4 picks like every single season. So every time I do a mock, I post a mock, I try and throw something weird in there just so I can call back to it and be like, see, I knew there was something going on there. I knew there was something weird that was going to happen. I still think there's going to be a lot of movement. You said, like you said, we're not doing trades or anything like that, but I still think there's going to be a lot of movement in this first round. So we can see a lot of interesting players go in some funky spots. But here with the Saints, I think this is a dream situation for them. I don't know if I'd agree if I was in the building, but I think they're going to be super excited to be in this spot to go take Shedeur Sanders as their quarterback at 9. I think that's honestly what they're hoping for, to be honest.
Yeah, I got 7th overall on this. I was just going to say 7th overall on this Pro Football Network board. I know our buddy Ian Cummings puts together and is a big part of it. So it's not crazy. And I do think they could really use a quarterback, especially now with the news about Derek Carr.
That's what I was gonna say. It's just like I already thought it was kind of like Saints might go Shedeur Sanders, and now it's like they really look like they might go Shedeur Sanders with Derek Carr possibly missing 2025.
Yeah, and I've got the next pick. I've got the Bears, and here's where I think the running back goes at this point. We haven't taken him, have we?
Nope, he's still there.
I don't know why he's not popping up for you though. But
Okay,
he's
okay. He was up. I had to go up. I was like, wait a second. How low does
GT's RB4 in the 40s?
No, he's 6th overall, and I've got him, as a top 5, top 6 talent as well on my board. So I have no issue taking him here for the Bears. They've done a really good job of filling out their roster in general. I mean, maybe they could go edge here. That wouldn't surprise me either. They could. They've done a really good job of beefing up the interior O-line. They do have 2 starters at tackle. Maybe they would take Will Campbell here because they could have him as an extra guy / probably could win the left tackle job. I'm not ruling him out from being a left tackle, but I just think Genty, if he falls to 10, they're going to jump all over it. So that's my pick for the Chicago.
I think if you take a look at Ben Johnson and what he wants to do, he wants to get a running back in the building that can make things happen and really make opposing defenses fear what they can do on the ground, and Genty's going to do just that. So I really, really like that one as well. All right, I've got 49ers. I think I threw a team specific mock out for the 49ers on Twitter, and I took Will Johnson and got just annihilated. Like I got a flamethrower taken to me on Twitter for that pick. So I'm not going to do that. Mostly because I'm not looking to piss off a bunch of 49er fans. But I think this pick is in the trenches. A lot of people were screaming to go for a defensive interior. Mike Green's there, Shamar Stewart's there, who we've mentioned. I really, really like Walter Nolan, who's a trench player. So I think that there's a lot of options here for the Niners to be able to attack this. It's nice and plump for them right here.
Could they look with Will Campbell on the board? Could they look for a long term? Could they think because the left tackle is not getting any younger? Will Campbell's still available.
So I've got like Banks and Campbell, and that definitely crossed my mind. But if they think that they can bounce back this year and they can make a run at a championship, and the pieces are there for them, I think they want to fill what they have as a pressing starting need rather than preparing for the future. I think a tackle is in store for the Niners, but I think that they still believe that they can be in win now mode. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill the position that they need a little bit more. But Dale, I totally agree with you that that left tackle and Trent Williams is a pretty apparent need. And even as someone that can play guard and tackle, maybe for the time being. But we're going to go I'm just going to double down on the Texas A&M edge rushers, and we're going to go Shamar Stewart here, and we're going to get him off the board.
You mentioned a name, though, that I think is very realistic as an option that people aren't talking about, and that's Walter Nolan, because I'm also very high on him, and I don't think it'd be a reach at all. Our buddy Dustin Croft, who is usually in the chat, said that the other day, and then I actually was listening to the Stock Exchange guys doing a mock draft, and I think they had somebody that took him 11th overall, and I'm like, you know what? That does make a ton of sense that they would take him, but Stewart as well, give Bosa somebody else on there, and they can move him up and down that line a little bit too without his size and strength.
Yep, yeah, I agree.
Chris sees what you're doing there in the chat, Dale. He knows what you're up to.
Hey, I'm just saying that, when we get to 17, maybe a guy like Walter Nolan should be in the conversation if he's still on the board. But he didn't go at 11, and that's the spot he could go, I think. All right, Dallas Cowboys, Parker.
Yeah, this Cowboys pick is interesting, and this is another spot where I kind of want to go with a pick that I don't think is as talked about, but I think is very realistic if you look at just the tea leaves and the situations they have going on in the building. But I actually really like Jalen Walker to the Cowboys. With all the drama with Micah Parsons, you get a very versatile linebacker that can move around for you, play off ball, play on the line. I mean, you can, if it doesn't work out with Parsons and you have to end up moving him or just he ends up off your team for whatever reason, you have a guy like Jalen Walker who I feel like can really just step into that same role.
I like that a lot.
That's pretty good. So you're going with Walker, and I like that because he is. If the contract, if they feel nowhere close, I would also throw out Ted McMillan as an option here, just
for sure.
Wide receiver.
Yep, I
I think they could pair CeeDee Lamb, and that would be a fun pairing, and he'd be worthy of that pick. But good fun pick with Jalen Walker because some people have him as a top 5 player on their board. I'm a little cooler on him than that, but I understand the upside. And if he does do the role that Parsons does, that's going to be where he plays his best, in my opinion.
I agree.
I am up with the Dolphins, and man, you taking Starks really threw this whole thing off because this is a spot that I think Malachi Starks was there, that they would be all over it. So
got to make you think. Got to make you think a little bit. Let's get crazy.
I still think safety's in play, even if Starks is off the board, because another guy you mentioned is Nick Emanwari. 2 safeties in the top 13. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card.
We could never.
That's exactly what the hell's happening right now. Nick Emanwari.
I love it.
To the Miami Dolphins. They get a versatile safety. They like to move guys around at the safety spot anyways, and who's going to be better to move around than an athletic marvel that is about 6'3", 220, so you can move him anywhere on that back end of your defense and put him up there to get after it. And I like the pick for him.
Nice. That's a solid pick. That's fun. Yeah, 2 safeties, top 15 is nuts. We're going to go – so this is – I threw maybe a little bit of spice out there with the A&M guys. I'm going to reel it back a little bit. Indianapolis.
So you're saying Shamar Turner, another A&M guy.
All 3 A&M guys going for top 15.
I'm feeling some bias. I don't know.
No, it will not be Shamar Turner. We're going to go – this one to me makes too much sense. We're going to go with Colston Loveland here.
I was thinking that too.
The Colts need a tight end in a bad way. I think, if Warren falls to them, they'd be celebrating like crazy. But I think if he's not there, they're not at all upset with getting Colston Loveland. And hell, they might have Colston Loveland higher on their board. I know that it's not consensus that Tyler Warren is tight end 1. I know a lot of people probably have him maybe more so than Loveland do, but I still think there's a decent divide, and Colston Loveland by no means is a consolation prize, in my opinion.
I mean, I've been trying to force a tight end to the Colts for years, and I think Colston Loveland's a great fit. I think he's a better blocker than people give him credit for. I think that's a great selection, honestly.
Yeah.
I do too, and just as everybody expected, 2 safeties, 2 tight ends on the board in the top 14 picks, just as everybody expected.
Obviously, it's chalk. We got to be more creative here.
Parker, you are on the clock now with the Atlanta Falcons, who I feel like the board, has fallen decently for them.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, everything that they are going to want to be looking at is going to be available here. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go with a guy like Mike Green. However, I also have to have a little bit of bias in this mock, and I'm going to go with my favorite edge because I think he's still on the board. Unless, I think
edge. We got.
Yeah, no, yep. My favorite selection for the Atlanta Falcons is keeping the Atlanta boy home, and we're gonna go with Michael Williams. It just feels very Falcons to me. I couldn't tell you why, but my gut tells me Michael's going to the Falcons in the first round, and that's one pick that's been very, very consistent in all my mocks.
That's one that feels like if it's not Michael, if it's not Starks, it might be Michael. It just feels like a Georgia Bulldog is going to be an Atlanta
Bulldog is going to stay in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think Jalen Walker, who's off the board here, would be another Georgia Bulldog that would be in consideration if he was there. So
absolutely.
I am on the.
Sorry, Dale, you're good. No, I got ahead of my skis a little bit. You're up, man.
Yeah, I'm up with Arizona. Wow. So they have. Man, okay, I'm going to ask you guys this one because I didn't expect Will Campbell to fall this far. I was not thinking Will Campbell for this team, but I do have right tackle as a need. I know they have Jonah Williams, but I believe it's the last year of his contract there. I was even thinking Tet McMillan, and then I remembered Will Campbell is still on the board. Because Tet McMillan to pair with Marvin Harrison Jr. would be some fun weapons for that team. Corner, I could see corner with Will Johnson. The safeties are gone, so I don't see them going that route. Linebacker, maybe? I don't think so, but man, how about Will Campbell for you guys? Is that a crazy pick if I make it? I'm going to ask you both.
I don't think so. I think that line is something that they need to focus on, especially if they want to keep Kyler Murray as their starting quarterback. They got to do some things to help him out, and the line is definitely a piece of need. I don't necessarily know if it's the biggest piece, but I don't think it's a crazy pick, especially if you get a guy like Campbell.
I mean, I think they've had a very sneaky good run game, coming up the last couple of years. And I think really reinforcing that, and then again protecting your quarterback, I think is going to take this team a lot further than adding really any defensive piece. I think their defense is a long ways away from being anything too exciting. But I think trying to shore up this offense and give this team some stability would go a long way. So I'm all about it.
All right, man. I was just thinking he's too good to pass up there at 16, but man, if he was there for the Bengals, shit, I'd play him at guard and think he could be my left tackle of the future. Am I crazy, Parker?
I mean, I don't like him at tackle, and I don't love him overall as a prospect. So I'm not going to be pumped about that. But
so you're not the guy to ask that to. But
you're asking the wrong girl. You're asking the wrong girl over here, Dale.
All right. No dance for Parker. He turned me down. But either way, he's off the board. He goes to the Cardinals at 16. Now the Bengals are on the clock. Newt, this is your pick. But if you don't mind, we'll have a discussion about it with all three of us.
Yeah. The first place my mind went was Walter Nolan. Seeing as he's still there, it's kind of been one of my favorite to comp there. But obviously, you two are way more in the weeds than I am when it comes to Bengals. I don't know if there's an edge rusher that is still on the board that maybe like gives you pause. You might want to look at Mike Green. I'm curious to see what you guys think.
Well, I mean,
Parker, I'll let you go here and talk
if you're thinking Nolan, I know Dale's thinking Nolan. My opinion is Nolan void at this point. I mean, I do think this fell in a very favorable way for a lot of the Bengals fans that I've seen have commentary on the draft. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Nolan, Green, and Harmon, and so I think there's a lot of excitement here. Personally, I'm thinking outside of that box at this pick. I'm not a huge fan of Nolan or Green in the first round. Personally, I think they both have they're going to be very limited in the Bengals defense. I don't think Nolan's going to have as strong of an immediate impact as people project him to. And I think this Bengals interior defensive line room is going to start getting really crowded really fast. And they might have to part with some talent that, unnecessarily. I don't hate Nolan. I do like Nolan as a prospect. I know Jihad Campbell's been another name that's been brought up a lot. The injury really scares me with him. I actually also like Schlesinger a lot in the second round. I think he's going to be available at 49. Personally, I would probably look at one of these top corners as they still fell. I think Will Johnson's a really interesting pick. Ajay Barron's a really interesting pick for the Bengals. They have corners that have been kind of up and down. It's been a roller coaster in the cornerback room. They have a couple contracts coming up relatively soon. They're just going to be in a spot where they're either going to have to pay guys, which we all know the money they just shelled out, or they're going to have to bring in talent anyway. And so I think when you have top guys on the board available, that's personally where I would go with this pick. But those are my thoughts.
Man, if Mike Green didn't have the sexual assault allegations, I would say get Mike Green. Get another pass rusher, the Trey situation. But I just can't – I can't feel good about making the Mike Green pick here. I really can't. So talent-wise, he would be up there. So would Will Johnson talent-wise. But the reason I don't want to go Will Johnson, even though I think he'd be a great pick, I don't think the Bengals will go that route. I think they like their young corners. I think they like DJ Turner. I think they like Dax Hill. I think they expect CTB to bounce back. And I think that's the three starters, plus Josh Newton showed some flashes. And DJ Ivey is a little bit of a favorite of me personally, that if they would let him cover tight ends, I think he'd have a role on this team.
I think Dejon Anthony's also got a good future competing for that spot as well. So I personally – I'm right there with you. I'm a lot higher on this defensive backfield than I think a lot of Bengals fans are generally. However, I'm also a really big fan of Jahdae Barron. So I wouldn't hate that pick at all. I think it really improves the room, and I think you can feel a lot more comfortable knowing that you're going to have some options you can work through, and you got some vets that you're still trying to push out of the back end of that defense, and I think that would help you get there.
Now, I have taken Jihad Campbell. We did a mock draft yesterday on the show, and I took him, and I think he'd be a good pick, Parker. But it does a shoulder for a linebacker, right?
Well, it's not even just the shoulder either. It's like it's the shoulder, it's the knee. There's like the laundry list of just kind of like, oh well, there's been issues here, there's been issues here. It just feels like that's a time bomb. And I'm just off of Campbell in the first round, just because there's so much unknown with his profile right now. I'm okay waiting on that one personally.
Man, Newt, if you're good, though, we're going to go back to where we started. Parker, I'm sorry. I know you don't want it. But I looked up. I have a 10% or higher win rate. I know PFF's not the be-all, end-all. I always love to say that. Parker does a great job with O-line stuff, especially that is sometimes different than that. But for D-tackles, the success rate for a guy with a 10% or higher run-stop rate and a 17% or higher, which Nolan was above 10, he was 11.9 or something in the run stop, and he was 19.5 in true pass sets on his win percentage. It is crazy how many guys that hit those marks are successful at defensive tackle in the NFL. There's two guys at that position this year at D tackle. One is Mason Graham, who's long gone. The other is Walter Nolan.
Can I pop? And this is way out of left field, possibly.
Yes, you can.
Does the thought of a Tyler Booker or Calvin Banks ever pop up with just trying to get that last piece of that offensive line sounding good and kind of going we're going to put up 40 points a game on you so the defense can do what the defense needs to do?
I mean, I was a very, very big advocate of Booker at 17 for a very, very, very long time. I still wouldn't hate that pick at all, personally. I mean, I'm all for that action. I just think it's tough because I don't like Kelvin Banks as a guard. I know that's an unpopular opinion.
I do. See, Newt had me ready to fucking fire that pick in too.
I know. But I wouldn't hate that pick. I do think if they go Banks at 17, I'm still kind of hoping there's another interior offensive lineman available at 49. I don't really want to wait till 81. So I feel like Kelvin Banks isn't really a needle mover, where I feel like you get Booker, you get him next to Orlando Brown Jr. That's a long-term solution-ish. However, with Kelvin Banks, if you do play him at guard, he's a lot easier to flex out to left tackle if you don't end up retaining Orlando Brown over time. So I'm okay with that pick at 17. I am okay with Banks purely for that reason. But I think Booker's the cleaner prospect at 17. And I was on that train for a long time. So
I'm not trying to like already throw fuel on the fire of this Bengals pick, but that was when I was like, I know guard is an issue, and if you can, you can just make that line just, and I know it kind of fits what the Bengals do, right? They just stack massive men in front of Joe Burrow and just run kind of an old school, we're gonna punch you right in the face kind of manpower scheme. Am I correct in that? In like how they look to do it. I just look at Mims last year. I look at, like you said, Orlando. I look at Karras and like all of those pieces. It's like these are guys that are just going to like put their face mask right in yours and try to knock you on your ass. And I think Tyler Booker really brings that, and he is a really good complement to the rest of that offensive line.
I agree with all of that, except for the fact that I think the Bengals really like oversized guards, and I think Banks and Booker are a little smaller than their ideal size profile. I mean, they like these 6'6" plus guys on the interior. I think Banks actually I'm trying to remember how tall he was, but I know height's a weird thing this year. He's right outside of it.
6'4".
I thought he was 6'4" too.
Oh, he might be. I could be wrong on that.
I mean, it might be right on the border though. But again, I don't know if that's a huge concern because he still has the length, he still has the mass. I don't think the height's that big of a deal breaker, and that's why I think Banks at this pick's great. I think Nolan's fine. Like I'm not opposed to either of those picks. It's just those aren't players that I love. But I think when you're looking at Bengals specific, I think those are great selections personally.
Dale, it's your podcast. You wanna pull the trigger and make the pick?
Yeah, I'm going to go Walter Nolan because, I haven't done it a lot on our show because I'm like, I'm going to pick him a lot later. Well, there's no better time than me and Parker's annual mock draft-a-palooza here where we started with one round. We've been doing 2 rounds lately. And we brought in a guy like Newt. And you first mentioned Walter Nolan. I love Kelvin Banks. I think that'd be a great pick for me personally. Jihad Campbell, if it wasn't for the injuries, I would love that pick too. I still necessarily am not ruling him out. Starks is off the board. He's another guy I really like. Donovan Ezerique is also a top 5 player for me, option for the Bengals. But I'm not going to go that route when everything I said about Walter Nolan, the success rate, the guys who are the best D tackles in the league are guys that hit those thresholds, and he's 1 and 2 guys in this class. Let's finally fucking do it. We haven't drafted a D tackle since 1990 freaking 4 in the first round. So it's Walter time. Nolan is the pick here. Newt's pick, my pick, whatever, at pick 17. Walter Nolan. I got to do it one time, right? Okay, so we are now at Seattle, and Parker, I believe you are up because that would have been Newt's pick there that we kind of took over. He mentioned Walter Nolan, so I'm giving Newt that too. Yeah. You were up with the Seahawks. A guard. Kelvin Banks, I know you said you don't necessarily like him at guard, but damn, they could really use one. And Booker and some other guys, Zabel, they could use guard, center, interior line in general. Wide receiver, because they traded Metcalf. But I'll let you go. I'm saying too much here.
No, I think this is pretty easy for me. I'm going to go with Kelvin Banks at this spot because I think they're a team that is a sneaky need for tackle. And I think Banks being able to instantly fill one of these interior offensive line spots, in my opinion, for this team over the long term could get pushed back out to tackle or could stick on the interior. I think that's a really fun, flexible position for him. It's a good spot for that team to, be in once you bring him in. I think you can get a lot more, creative as you get through this draft if you can kind of lock that up early.
I know that they've talked about Abe Lucas in a hopeful way, that he's kind of gotten past his injury issues, and he ended the season really well last year, which for the Seahawks is a good sign because I know they like Abe Lucas a lot. But I think you hit the nail on the head. You want to kind of build an insurance policy. You're not kicking Tyler Booker out. You got a guy in Kelvin Banks Jr. that you can kind of put at guard and fill that massive hole that they have, and then have a guy that can kind of swing out to that right tackle spot as needed. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully Abe Lucas is able to have a 10-year career ahead of him, but it's obviously something that's got to be in the back of your head.
And I think it's also nice because it's not really putting instant pressure on Lucas. It's just more of like, hey, we have this guy that if something does happen, like we can just bump him out. But, having that flexibility, again, it allows Lucas to be a little more free. You're not bringing in a tackle to compete directly with him. Right. You're not bringing in a Tyler Booker where it's like if Lucas does go down, we're going to be, SOL on that side. So I just think it's a really smart pick for them to make.
I agree.
Yeah, they have to be happy that a guy with that kind of talent fell there and some versatility, we think, right? Even though he's played left tackle at Texas. Tampa Bay on the clock, and I have this pick here at 19. Wow. I mean, corner, edge, and linebacker, my top 3 needs. Mike Green, Will Johnson, and Jihad Campbell are all on the board. So for what I have for their needs and what fell to them, they have to be ecstatic here as well. I'm going Campbell. I think they take the risk here and they go with the linebacker. But what a great problem to have that they had, 3 potential studs fall right in their lap here of positions of need as well.
No, I like that. I totally agree with it. And I think this is kind of, I heard somewhere, it was on Stock Exchange that they said that Mike Green was going to be playing out of the NFC South. And now we've officially moved past that point, I think, which is wild because I don't think I've seen this on a mock. So I like that. I like that take. I like that change. And I think Jihad Campbell, man, if you pull injuries out, which we know you can't like magically erase those, but if you do, then that guy is special when he's on the field.
I got a super chat here, so I have to get to that from the CEO, Dustin Croft, who's always very generous giving us super chats. But he's asking a question here to you, Parker. And sorry, chat, that I can't get a bunch of the questions in today. because we're trying to keep this thing rolling 2 rounds, and Parker's got to get out of here by 7:15.
I am on borrowed time. I'm
So we're trying to get as much in as we can before we're going to lose Parker and have to roll with this with just the 2 of us. So, but the question here from Dustin: how does the new O-line coach change the evaluation the Bengals normally have with O-line? Being a Callahan protege who loves running the ball, who dey?
Yeah, no. I mean, I've been getting this question a lot. I just don't know how involved the offensive line coach is in, the Bengals evaluation process. I talked about that a lot with Pollock. About that a lot just over the last couple of years in general, a few years in general. So I really don't know what's going to change. I really think it's going to be more influenced by your offensive coordinator than your position coach, though I don't necessarily agree with that approach. I just think it's how things are done there. I think there's a lot of, there could be a lot of external, influence as well that I've heard whispered around. So just overall, I don't know how much Peters is going to impact that. And I mean, you're bringing a new guy in when a lot of your personnel department is, very veteran and they've been together for a long time. I don't think they're just going to let this guy come in and start just letting opinions fly. So I wouldn't expect to see the MO change unless it's, led by pitcher personally.
Got you. Newt, you are up, I believe, with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. Let's see here. Broncos are up. Running back is a huge one.
I was like, there's a right answer, Newt. Come on.
There is, but Tet is on the board. Tet is on the board. I know.
That's what kind of gave me pause. I think I saw, I was honestly leaning a little bit Jihad Campbell. And then I was like, oh man, Tet McMillan is on the board still.
They did have the guy from the Niners at linebacker, though, if Jihad would have been available.
That's true.
Greenlaw.
I think that it was more of like okay, let's consider this, but ultimately it's between Tet and Hampton.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to go and channel my inner Sean Payton and say that Omarion Hampton is the pick here because that man is going to want to run the ball as much as he possibly can. I know Broncos fans have been clamoring for a running back, and maybe that changes if Ted is on the board still. But I don't think they're not devoid at wide receiver. They have options there still. And, we really haven't done a ton to touch this wide receiver class. And I know that the running back class is deep as well. But I think you have a really significant player with Omarion Hampton. He'd be easily an RB1 in about 9 of 10 other classes. So we're going to go Omarion Hampton here. He's a guy that I really, really like. I think he deserves to be a first-round pick in this year's draft.
Yeah, I think that's the route I would have went. Didn't expect Tet to be here, so at least had to be a conversation. But we're also a Bengals podcast and Bengals fans, so fuck the Steelers because I don't want them getting to Hampton. So I'm glad he's off the board. Parker, you are up with those Schittsburg Steelers at pick 21.
I know. I feel like somehow every year I get this pick. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that lines up. I don't know what you're doing back there behind the scenes, but I always end up with the friggin' Steelers. So, this is actually really fun for me because this has been one of my favorite picks to talk about the whole process so far. I really do think this is going to be a quarterback, but I don't think it's going to be the quarterback that's gotten hot lately. I've always been very high on this guy being the quarterback to the Steelers, especially since I was in Mobile. Not that I heard anything, but just as really when I first got the idea in my head, I've just been locked onto it. Another pick that I've been very consistent with. I'm sending Jalen Milroe to Pittsburgh because I really do think they want to go. It feels like they're following kind of the Ravens' footprint. They have a strong defense, as we all know. They've been investing in that offensive line. We've seen how they handle their running back situations. They bring in very solid players and keep them in the groove. They keep them on the team, but they're not afraid to move on off of the guy. And again, I think they've been trying out the mobile quarterback situation. They had the Fields, they had the Russ Wilson. Now let's go get our guy that we can kind of, really build up and try and mold. And that's going to be a lot easier to do with a Jalen Milroe for what they're looking to do. I think Jackson Dart's a great runner, but I don't think he's the athlete that Milroe is. And I think that's what they're looking for back there.
I like that. I think Milroe there is fun. I think it's something that mixes things up a little bit. I I probably wouldn't have done it myself, but I ultimately love it for kind of like getting that alternate perspective. So hats off.
Man, with the tight ends going off the board here, I'm up with the Chargers. So I think Loveland would have been, that's that chalk pick that we were talking about earlier, but he's long gone in this scenario. I think running back, because Harbaugh loves to run the ball, Hampton, Genty, they'd love those guys. Maybe they would still go with a Travion Henderson here. But Ted McMillan, who is very high, he's, what do I have him on my board? 12th overall. He's still available at 22. He's 10th overall in this Pro Football Network simulator. Give him a receiver, right? I know they brought back who's the guy they brought back that they had before? Mike Williams.
Mike Williams, yeah.
They brought back Mike Williams, but the other guy they drafted in the first round hasn't really panned out. I mean, he's good at a lot of things, just not catching the football consistently. It's kind of a big deal at wide receiver. So Ted McMillan falling here to the Chargers. I got to put them on the board. And Newt, you are up with your Green Bay Packers at pick 23.
That was a little bit of a shot to the gut. I was like, man, is it going to happen?
You almost got wide receiver one that you really
I saw the Chargers, and I'm like, oh, shit, Dale might do it. And you did. Rightfully so. I probably would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's my number 2 need for them behind tight end.
No, it's that is absolutely fair. I think the board broke really well for the Packers. Got 2 defensive interior players that I think they'd love to have. Edge dried up a little bit quicker than I think they'd like. Mike Green's a little bit smaller for the measurables that they have. And Pierce Jr. is a little bit on the slimmer side. Ezra, I think, becomes a conversation here. But I'm not going to mess around. Will Johnson is on the board still for me. He's my cornerback 1. I absolutely love him. And I think he's got the opportunity to be a significant player at the next level. I think 2024, obviously with the injury, was a down year, but I think his best football is ahead of him. So we're going to go with Will Johnson at 23 to the Green Bay Packers.
Brother, that's an absolute steal in my opinion as well at pick 23. So that worked out really well in this scenario for your Packers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was depressed about Tet, and then immediately I was like, oh, Will Johnson's still on the board. We're good.
I'll be honest, I forgot about him. So that's because he should have been long gone, honestly.
I agree.
I know there's been some good value falling in this draft. Like, it's honestly been kind of a fun run.
Yes, I like it. Parker, you're up with the Minnesota Vikings. I think safeties are off the board. Linebacker, there's not anything there. I got guard, corner, tackle. I mean, I think I know where I would go, but where are you going to go with the Minnesota Vikings?
I really feel like this is a Booker spot.
Yeah. Him or Gray Zabel was the 2 that stood out to me just in my head right away.
I think just like the physicality and just like the anchor he had, I feel like he's a sneaky good pass protector. I don't think a lot of people talk about that, but he's a very stout pass protector on the interior, and I think that's what they're looking for. This is a pass heavy offense that just happens to run the ball sometimes, and I think Booker really fits that MO. So that's a pretty easy pick for me personally.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
Did cornerback cross your mind at all? I don't know. I know you're big on Jahdae Barron.
If Johnson was still there, I definitely would have gone with him. I forgot Barron was still on the board. I didn't even realize he was still. I did the same thing
like
Dale
Will
did.
Johnson. Yeah.
Newt's eyeing these DBs, man. I took mine early.
So the Houston Texans now are on the clock, and I have them pick 25. Obviously, O-line, right? I'm still shocked they traded Gas Mask. Like, what? He's a good player. So I think Josh Simmons, regardless of the injury, he can be your left tackle of the future now that you need one. So it's simple for me. I'm going Newton. Gray Zabel, I mean, they could just use good offensive linemen. They could take him. He's got versatility. But I'm going Simmons because I think they need the tackle now.
Talk about one of the wildest things in NFL draft history. You have a player that's a multi-all-pro, has been a Pro Bowler more than half of his seasons, and he still gets referred to as Gas Mask from the video.
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil, great player, but it's iconic, right?
It is so iconic. And that's the thing, is you say and everyone immediately knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh,
The
that's
Rams
so
are
funny.
up, Newt. You've got them. I've got right tackle, corner, sneaky for quarterback, but I don't think this early. Linebacker, safety, tight end. Those have been
Yeah,
filtered.
I think with ooh, with how the corners fell here, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do Jade Barron though. I'm going to go with my
Oh,
guy
oh!
Azariah Thomas. So we're
I
gonna
thought
put
Barron
AZ.
was going to be the pick.
Yes. Yes.
Cornerback, yes. Barron, no. We're gonna get my boy Az Thomas in there, who honestly could have been the Packer pick had Johnson not been there. It would have made the Packer pick a lot tougher. I love Azariah Thomas, and I think he
Love that pick.
can be a legitimate outside shutdown cornerback. And I think with the Rams, that's something that they would covet.
Baltimore Ravens. So once again, Parker, you get the Steelers, you get the Ravens,
telling
you
you.
get all
I'm
the
telling
teams that we don't love.
Man.
If a team could take a risk on a character here, you see what position I went to. And he will pan out and be an absolute freak show there, in my opinion. But who do you want for the Ravens?
I mean, I don't think you're very far wrong. I think Mike Green going to the Ravens would be a very like Bengals fans all over Twitter saying, this always happens. You know, they always take these guys that were like this. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yep,
but
I sure do. But Jade Barron also on the board.
I know, and I kind of like I'm trying to decide like if I think they need a corner or an edge more because that is what I'm between.
Yep.
Any thoughts, Newt? Any thoughts? I'm open to anything here.
I think they need an edge more. I think with how they play, was it Van Noy? He had a freak show this season, but he's early 30s, correct? What do you want to do with Odafe Owe? I think that like finally he was able to be productive, but I think with how that group likes to run, they like to get the premium position. Edge is kind of where I'd lean with the Ravens. I still think TJ Tampa's best ball is ahead of him. So I think
Me
that
too.
he
I'm a big TJ Tampa guy.
I think he's got an opportunity to compete for cornerback next year. I thought the slide on him was ludicrous last year, but obviously the NFL knows a lot more than I don't, and maybe just wasn't the player that I and a lot of draft media thought. But I'm going to stick to that until I see otherwise. So I like edge a little bit better. With that said,
I think it's got to be James Pierce.
Oh, not even Mike Green.
No, I like James Pierce because I think he's more flexible as a linebacker. I think Mike Green's more of like a true defensive end, where James Pierce has shown flexibility to drop back coverage, and that's what the Ravens like doing with their edge players. They like being more versatile with those guys, and I think he really fits that mold. And I think, I mean, you talked about character issues. James Pierce has the attitude that the Ravens like to have.
Yeah, and I mean, they probably feel, hey, we've got an established culture, and this guy ain't going to miss shit. He's going to be in here. We got the leaders to take him under their wing and get the best out of him. So James Pierce is a good pick because, I mean, that's a guy that has top 15 talent. So I think that'd be a great pick for them too.
I am irresponsibly high on James Pierce at this point in the cycle. So, I mean, this is great value for me.
Well, you made my pick for the Lions easy here next, though, because I'm just going Mike Green. I'm not. I think Raku's a guy who I thought would be in the conversation, but Green falling to them, I think they're like, hey, we can get him with Hutchinson and the D tackles that we have and retained and brought in. Let's go. Our D line is instantly improved with Mike Green, and he's going to get after the quarterback for us. So that's an easy pick for me with the Lions. Newt, you are up next with the Washington Commanders.
So I really like here the opportunity for Jade Barron. I just think that they still lack a lot of that presence on their edges. And with Ezra still there, I am like, I won't apologize for having Jack Sawyer high on my board. Unman Mielen, I think that the edges are really good for them. I think that there is a step down from Ezraku to the next group, though. And I think that they could really, really like this here and maybe snake back and snag a cornerback in the second round. I think that they did a lot of things to address that room with the addition of, why am I blanking the player's name from the New Orleans Saints last year?
If you wouldn't have brought it up, I would have known.
I just think Mike Evans boxing with this player, and I cannot.
Yeah.
It's just like the greatest thing in the entire world.
But Marshawn Lattimore.
Thank you, Lattimore.
There.
That's who it was.
Big brain.
I knew everything else about this player except his
I can
name.
see the picture in my brain. I can see it.
Oh my gosh. I think with Lattimore helps bring stability to that room, and I think it doesn't necessarily like thrust you into that situation. If he wasn't there, Jade would be easy pick, but we're gonna go Donovan Ezraku here.
I like it. I think he's very much worthy of being a first round selection, and we're getting to the end of the first round here. So very good pick. Parker, you are on the clock with the Buffalo Bills.
I know, I saw the Bills coming up, and I feel like that's like one of the kind of few teams I haven't done a lot of research into. Like I couldn't.
I've got corner. I've got corner, D tackle, wide receiver, some positions like that. So Barron's here.
See, my gut's speaking like wide receiver to me, but I know Barron's still available. What receiver? We haven't really gone a lot of receivers yet, have we?
No, Ted's the only one. So Buka's there, Matthew Golden, all those guys.
I feel like.
I think they'd be very happy to get a Matthew Golden or a
I think
Matthew
I
Buka
think a Matthew Golden is a great addition for them. I feel like if I don't go Barron, he's not going in the first, and I feel like that's going to be like the talk of the town after night one if Barron's still on the board. But I think I have to go Matthew Golden. I'm just getting receiver. I got to go receiver. Go with your gut. I'm going Matthew Golden.
I like that. I like it.
Yeah, I probably would have went Barron just because I think he'd be a good fit there. But I also think I just think of Jim, right? Our guy Jim, the Bills fan that would just absolutely, the draft professor would absolutely love Matthew Golden, I imagine. So I think that's a good pick, Parker.
I've heard from Bills fans that they're high in Matthew Golden for sure.
Oh man, the Chiefs! I hate to do a pick that I did the other day when I did a first round mock, but I can't help it here. I know they have Chris Jones, but I think Derek Harmon, his ceiling could be Chris Jones if he absolutely reaches his peak. Now, once again, I'm the guy who wanted Walter Nolan at 17, but I do think you get here to pick 31 of the first round. Derek Harmon makes a lot of sense. I can't see them going corner here with Barron. Wide receiver, maybe. Would they like an Buka? Potentially. They could use a guard, a Gray Zabel. That would make a lot of sense. I'm going to ask you guys before I just put Harmon. I'm leaning Harmon, but how about Gray Zabel? How would you guys feel about that? Newt, I'll start with you and then ask you, Parker.
I think they've had a harder time finding a tackle. I think the talk is that they want to move Sumariya into guard because they really didn't like how he played at tackle.
Makes sense.
I mean, Joe Thuney leaving is a huge hole for them. They obviously have Trey Smith. Maybe that doesn't last through next year because he's on the franchise. So I think that offensive line is definitely a situation that you want to address early rather than later. Obviously, the tackle group with Simmons being taken, I don't want to say dried up because there's still, I think, a good crop of players, but I think they're a tier down. When you look at, Banks,
they can't
Simmons,
go Ursary here.
Campbell.
They can't. Yeah, they can't go. Yeah, they can't go Ursary, right?
I think it becomes a little bit larger of a step down. I don't hate Connerly Jr. here, but I think you're taking a swing. And however you want to approach that, is up to you. Gray Zabel has proven he can play all five positions on the offensive line, which is obviously really, really helpful.
Donovan Jackson could be Donovan Jackson's spot because he played some left tackle, but also guard. to fill that Tooney spot at left guard. To start.
Parker, you're the resident offensive lineman. What do you got for us?
Man, I feel like this is a spot where though the tackles are a tier down, you're also picking at 31, right? So you're not really looking for. Well, I mean, you're always looking for top end talent, but you're not looking for like these top 3 guys at whatever position. Though I mean, there could still be a couple of guys available. I mean, our positions in need. But if I'm the Chiefs, I think you have a lot of good stuff in place still, where you can still afford to take some swings. I think you have to go something on the offensive line for sure at this spot. But I don't think I'm afraid of swinging at a tackle because, I mean, our next pick's 62? And so what tackles are realistically going to be available there that don't get scooped up in the second round? And so, I mean, you're looking at a Josh Connerly right now with Ariante Ursary right now.
Can Connerly play left guard in your opinion? For this season, because they brought the guy from the 49ers, but I don't know that that's a long-term answer for them.
I personally think Connerly projects better as a guard. I think he shows a little bit of stiffness at tackle. Not that he can't work that out, but he's definitely not a perfect tackle. But I think Josh Connerly is a great, developmental option. You can throw him next to Suamata Ia at left guard and just kind of let them work together and develop together on that left side. And I think that'd be a great.
You talked me into it.
I think it's a great spot because he's not going to be available in the second. He's you're not going to get value even if you trade up in the second. I mean, you just kind of got to take that shot, in my opinion.
That's why I asked, because I was like, Derek Harmon stands out for value here, and I think he'd be good, but it's like, they still do need to figure out that long term for the left tackle, and maybe it's Connerly, but if not, they still need to figure out the long term for the left guard right now. So why not just get that guy and think he's going to be a piece of this line for years to come? So you talked me into it. Thank you for doing that. Good. I feel good about my pick there that you helped me make. Philadelphia.
I'll be excited because I don't actually love him, so I'll be excited about that pick.
I don't either, but he could reach his potential, but man, he worries me with the power. Speed to power really gets in his ass. The Mike Green stands out, but just in general, he needs to get stronger, and that's kind of a big thing for O-linemen. Am I crazy on that, Parker?
I mean, he just plays with poor leverage. I think he's got good. Like, you can see the lower half in the run game. Like, the power is there, the strength's there, but like, he plays so tall, and again, he's so stiff that it's so easy to get underneath him. That's why we get reps like the Mike Green rep. I don't think it's. I've said it since I was there, but I mean, I don't think the Mike Green rep was Mike Green, being this high end elite rusher in that moment. I think it was Connerly coming out a little too tall, Mike Green coming out nice and low and exploding up into his chest and going right through him because he out leveraged him. And I think that's one of the biggest issues he has in his game. So
that's why you're the man, Parker, and we love you. Newt, you're up with the Eagles to round out the first round here.
All right. Well, I'm gonna drop a little more hot sauce on this. I think I'm gonna get a guy in here twofold. I'm gonna get a guy in that probably won't pop up in most top 32 or first round mocks. And to Parker's point, we're not gonna see Jahdae Barron's name called in the first round of this. So you're gonna hear that all over the news sources, obviously. Eagles lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson to a trade. They have Sidney Brown, who's a little unproven, dealt with an injury early in his career. They need to cover safety, someone that is rangy. They're going to go ahead and draft Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame.
I love that.
I thought that's where you were going when you said that.
I'm a big Xavier Watts guy. I think he might even sneak into my top 32. I can't remember on my big board, but he's right around there. I actually have him above Eamon Warry. Now, Eamon Warry is a beast of his own. He's unique, and they're not the same player. However, I think that as far as like being a true center fielder, Xavier Watts has the ability to do that. So Xavier Watts, pick 32.
He is 41 on my board, so picking him at 32 I don't think is crazy at all. I probably would have went Derek Harmon here for them, losing Milton Williams, but I like that. I like that you spiced it up, honestly. It's beautiful. Parker, you are up with the Cleveland Browns. You get another AFC North team.
We've gotten all three of them. We've hit all three of them.
You did it, buddy.
I didn't get one NFC North team at all, and Parker is now hit all AFC North teams.
Well, I didn't get one of them. We are missing one of them.
Oh yeah, that's true. The most important one.
Yeah, because he did not want Walter Nolan, and I said, nah.
Yep.
We get Walter Nolan.
But we're getting Walter Nolan. No, but and just on the Eagles point, I think it's interesting where they talk about the front seven so much and how well they've drafted in that area, but I think they've been really developing the back end of this defense, and that's what's really making it so good is that it's actually got a lot of young talent across the board. And so I just really do love that pick. I was just also sitting in sorrow looking at this Cleveland Browns pick. Sorry about the delayed response there. Anyway, who did the Browns take in the first? They took Travis, right?
Hunter. Yep.
Ugh, man, oh man. What edges do I have available just for funsies?
Let me go back to
Moonman Mielen, Jack Sawyer, Landon Jackson, Josiah Stewart, Braden Swinson. I might be missing
some, Braden Swinson's interesting though.
Oh, at the top of the second. Oof.
Oh.
I don't think they go corner. Barron's still being there. This would be, honestly, in real life, I think someone would trade up with the Browns. They'd be happy to trade down. I accidentally took Derek Harmon. I did not mean to do that.
He's been begging for it, folks, and he got it.
No, I don't know how I clicked that on accident. Like,
I love it.
I fucked this whole thing up.
No, I think it's fine. They need the D-line help. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man, that's awful. I think they would have went quarterback. I think Jackson Dart would have been an easy pick there.
I know. I was looking at Dart. I was thinking of Jade Barron because I do think the defensive backfield is a little shaky. You don't love Newsome. You don't love really.
Who would you have taken? Because it's just not going to be right on the simulator. But I'm going to keep that Harmon's on there, and I'll just take that player.
Dale, I've got the entire draft on my screen. I don't know if you want to just kick back in and redo it real quick.
Okay.
I've been keeping track of the entire draft for myself.
Man, am I the loser over here that's just kind of rolling with what I see on the screen? Like I feel like I'm like an amateur right now.
Man, I screwed that up.
No, I got
what I'll do is whatever Parker picks, I'll pick that player. I think I could probably do that, right? Maybe. Whenever Derek Harmon goes, I'll put whatever Parker wanted in that spot that we take.
That makes sense.
So if Derek goes to, let's say, I'm trying to look for where he might go. The Jets. Derek Harmon goes to the Jets. I'll give the Jets whoever Parker takes here for the Browns.
Beautiful.
So we don't have to restart it.
Man, I don't want to take Dart to the Browns purely because I like Dart and I don't want to watch his career die. But I think that's the logical pick at 33. I don't know how if they don't move out of this spot, how they pass on a Dart because once again, he's not going to be available next time they come around, and they do have a very large need at that spot. So I think that's got to be the pick. It just makes my heart sad. So. Not only am I picking
so Jackson Dart,
the Browns, but we're going Dart.
Is the pick. Okay, Jackson Dart's the pick. I'm going to write that down on my sheet here. So then whenever Derek Harmon goes, I'm going to put Jackson Dart in that spot, but it'll actually be Derek Harmon that goes for the next time, whenever he's picked. Damn, I fucked that up. Sorry, boys. I don't even know how I clicked it. It's trying to move between screens and move between all the spots. That's my fuck.
I'm busy over there, brother. You're good.
So the Giants are next up, and we had the Giants taking Abdul Carter. So I'm going to need you on this, Newt, so I don't have to go back as we get to these picks. There's going to be some of them I don't remember.
Oh, I got them all, I can tell you.
Man, I think the Giants wouldn't have minded if Jackson Dart fell.
Oh, for sure.
I'm still thinking that a quarterback, Dart's off the board, I'm not looking at him. But do they go with Tyler Shuck here for the Giants? I don't think tackle lines up here. I don't think guard, linebacker, wide receiver. Maybe wide receiver. Would they get an Igbuka here? And even though give Russ another receiver, so I'm thinking Igbuka. Honestly, I think that's the route I'm going to go. Build
like
up the
that.
weapons, build up the weapons there for whoever's at quarterback. And
For
maybe
Jameis Winston bombs. That's what we're doing.
Yes, you're still kicking the can down the road though to getting a true quarterback, but it is what it is.
That's a fun wide receiver room, though. I mean, if you've got Malik Neighbors, you have Robinson, Wan'Dale Robinson on the other side, Egbuka out of the slot, and then your wide receiver 4 is Jalen Hyatt, who's just running downfield as fast as he can. That's a fun room. I think that it definitely, whoever ends up throwing the ball there, whether or not it is Winston, will be able to at least find a little bit of success with that.
Garrett Nussmeier is going to love this wide receiver room next year, man. QB1 Garrett Nussmeier.
Yes.
There we go.
That.
There we go. Is that me with the Tennessee Titans?
Yes, you are up now with Tennessee.
All right, they snagged Cam Ward already. I kind of hate that because I would have loved Egbuka to go here. They need a wide receiver after they got their running back. This is the team also that could keep building their offensive line. And if you got a Gray Zabel and a Donovan Jackson there, I really don't hate that either. I think that with the Callahans there, they would love to get that in there. But ultimately, I think you want a pass catcher on this team to help out your new quarterback and go from there. Who do they have out of the slot? Do they have anyone out of the slot?
I don't know. I'd have to look at their depth
They might
chart.
be a
Not
tight
off the
end
top of
slot
my head,
team.
I think.
Okay. With Chig running a lot of that. I'm gonna go Luther Burden then. I'm gonna go Luther Burden for Tennessee. I think that'll kind of help give them some of those quick hit options, and is going to be something that, especially with the way that Cam Ward likes to play the game, where he's able to push it downfield. I think Luther Burden still gives you that, but also can kind of play in a little bit more of a chaotic environment. So Luther Burden,
here's our wide receivers, Newt. Before I lock it in, Calvin Ridley, Treylon Burks, and Van Jefferson is what's penciled in on their depth chart.
That was probably Van Jefferson out of the slot.
Yeah.
If Van Jefferson's your slot wide receiver, I'm not feeling like
Luther Burden, right?
I don't know if
we're gonna go Luther Burden.
Yeah, that made it even easier. So, all right, good deal. Jaguars and Parker, this is probably the last pick, and we'll let you out of here. We'll let you make the Jags pick. I know you.
This is a big one, then. This is a big one.
So, Mason Taylor. But Mason Graham went in the first round to the Jaguars.
I've
got no tackle, wide receiver, corner. But go ahead.
Oh man, dude, I'm telling you, this Jahdae Barron slide hurts my heart as well. Right? It's crazy. It's crazy. But I think the Jags could use, maybe not use is the right word. Maybe could have fun with another big body receiver to play with Brian Thomas.
You're going to talk dirty to me and get my guy Higgins on there, aren't you?
Do it.
That's
what I was going between.
I mean, I don't know about Higgins. I'm thinking more my favorite big body wide receiver, Trey Harris.
Oh,
he's physical.
Okay.
He's a great blocker on the perimeter, so he helps you in the run game. He's not a great separator, I'll give you that, but Brian Thomas Jr. is a fine separator, so he can handle that business. Give Trey Harris the 50-50 balls because he's just a hard-nosed player. He's a very, very physical guy, can catch through contact, has strong hands. I mean, I think he's a little bit of a body catcher, needs to develop that, but when those hands get on the ball and he's able to connect, it looks really, really good. I think it'd be a really fun wide receiver too to have opposite Brian Thomas Jr. I think it's a really fun duo for Trevor Lawrence. So I like Trey Harris there. I'm going to go with that.
Ooh,
Hey,
like
I think
that.
that's a solid pick. I ain't mad about that at all. I like Jaden Higgins maybe a smidge more, but Trey Harris is right. They're very close on my board, so that's a good pick. Parker,
I
plug your stuff. Tell people where to find you. So this man comes home from work, gets on here, and he's got to go back to another job at work. So thank you very
yeah.
much for your time, Parker.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me on. I mean, it's like I said, I would never miss this. I honestly, I'm sad that I have to leave early because the Draft of Palooza is one of my favorite events of the year. I love getting on here with Dale. I'm glad Newt's here this year. It's always fun to chat with Newt. I don't think we've ever really gotten to chat one-on-one on a show before, so this is
I
a
don't think
fun
so
little
either.
intro.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you go follow me on X at ParkerBlake60. That's where everything that I do goes. I am currently in the middle of Epic Mock 25 Day 3 right now. I got hooked into our draft, so we auto drafted Cam Scatabo, which I'm not mad about as our latest pick. So Bengals
Okay.
fans, take that for what you will.
You're in what round 4?
I think we're still in the 4th right now. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Scatabo in
fourth
round
round,
4
Cam
is
Scatabo
stellar
in the
value.
I think that's great value. Like
That's-
when I saw
Yeah.
when I saw the auto pick, they're like, you got Scatabo, and I was like, okay. I wanted
you would
Jordan
have-
Birch at the spot. I wanted Jordan Birch,
yeah, I
but
do. Oh God,
getting
man,
Cam
he's so good.
Scatabo, I was like, I'm okay with that. I can live with that.
How are Jordan Birch and Scatabo still on the board?
I don't
agree.
know.
I agree.
Newt, I don't know how closely you've been following this outside of when you've been involved, but like this draft's been kind of like I feel like I've been cooking. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I really put on a show.
I gave it an A.
I
I graded it on your poll that you put on your page on Twitter on X at ParkerBlake60 once again. But yeah, I gave it an A. I thought you've done great.
Currently, I have the highest, I think, approval rating of any Bengals decision maker over the last 30 years. So I think I'm doing pretty good.
Hire him.
But yeah, just go follow me on X. Everything goes there. I'm doing once we get through this draft cycle. So kind of that first week of May, I'm kicking off 2026. So I'm going to be diving into a bunch of stuff. But obviously, as you wrap up this cycle, I'll be posting my top 100. I'll be posting prospects I like. I'm doing stuff like this crazy Epic Mock 25. I actually have a couple stuff in the works for draft weekend. Hopefully, just got to figure out my schedule. But a lot of fun stuff coming. Make sure you subscribe to me on there as well, because that's where I'll be posting all of my summer scouting stuff. I'm not going to put really any summer scouting on my normal feed, but I'll be posting all of my summer scouting for my subscribers, purely because I don't think people are going to care about it except my subscribers, because we're all freaky deaky when it comes to the draft as well. But yeah, that's really where I'm at. I'm going to get a bunch of other stuff going, like I said, for the 2026 cycle, but I don't have pretty much any of it set up right now. So just go follow me on X and it'll be there.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate your time. You are the absolute man. Thank you, Parker.
Well, enjoy the rest of the draft, fellas. I will be watching. Don't you worry. And I will try and hop in the chat. Hopefully not while I'm driving, but we'll see how the night goes. So
yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't text and drive. Don't do it.
But thank you guys again for having me on. Thanks for playing along with me and my crazy picks, so I could shake up the draft for you a little bit there. But you guys get back to it.
All right, thanks, brother.
Good talking to you, Parker.
Who day?
Good dude right there. Love me some Parker Blake. You all definitely got to follow that man. And man, I didn't know that's the first time you guys been on a show together.
We've interacted a ton over X, and I'm trying to think. I don't think we've ever actually been on definitely comments back and forth on a stream, but I don't think we've ever been on a stream together before.
All right, Newt, this is where I need you. Who did we take with the Raiders?
Malachi Starks. That was Parker's.
Yeah, because I'm just gonna.
That was his Carolina Reaper.
Man, they could go a lot of directions still. Could this be a Tyler Shuck spot? Maybe, but I think I gotta end the run here. So Parker leaves, and his guy that he really likes finally goes. Jade Albarin. They could use a corner. They just released Jack Jones. I mean, that one's kind of simple to me. So.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Yeah, the Jack Jones thing, I don't think Jack Jones is precluding them from taking Jade Barron, even if he's still there. But the fact that he is now released makes it all that much of probably a foregone conclusion that they have to address their secondary at some point. Obviously, Starks does a little bit of that, but they have to continue to beef that up.
And next up is the Patriots.
So
I took a tackle for them. I took Membu.
Armand Membu, and this is one where I think for them the board fell really well because we're going to continue to help out Jaden Higgins. I'm sorry, we're going to continue to help out Drake May with the addition of Jaden Higgins getting who I think is a stellar wide receiver prospect. I mean, a lot of these guys are bigger bodied guys, but I think Higgins wins in ways that he shouldn't do at his size, and it's honestly something that I think sets him apart. So Jaden Higgins going to the Patriots to continue to try to help out Drake May.
Okay, so the Bears are up, and this, I believe,
we had Genty first round.
Yes, Ashton Genty. So I got O-tackle, receiver, edge, linebacker. They could go a lot of directions here. I'm going to ask your opinion because honestly, I'm not that I know running back. I think edge makes a lot of sense. Would you agree?
I think it does too.
Montez Sweat.
Yeah, you get a guy with Austin Booker last year that you're helping to develop. You're not, selling the farm on a fourth round guy. And I think they like him. But they are kind of slowly moving into like that. Hey, we're ready to compete, and in order to do that, you have to have that second presence. So I think edge for me, once they get running back taken care of, is probably one of the bigger ones. I think at some point they will address the line, but I think edge has to be up there for them.
I'm trying to look at. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Who the highest rated player I still have? 42 on my board. The highest rated edge I have is Princely. I think a lot of people like JTT, maybe Jack Sawyer, maybe Landon Jackson, but I'm going Princely. I believe in him. I think he'll be a good pass rusher, and I think that'd be a fun pick for the Bears.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Princely's got a lot. I mean, he's got a super high athletic profile and a high ceiling. He's going to be a guy that has the opportunity to get after it. So I really like Princely there.
The Saints are now up, and with that one we took Shador, right? He fell.
Yeah, we took Shador there. I am looking at this, and I cannot believe this player is still on the board. I have to just look really quick. So the Saints need a lot of things.
I have D tackle, wide receiver, corner, edge. But is this a Harmon spot? Because he is still technically available. He's just not on this list, remember? Because I accidentally hit
Yep.
that.
Well, I'm going to break your heart, actually. I am going to go defensive tackle, but I'm not going to go Harmon.
Okay.
They grabbed Brian Brzee a couple years back, and I think he's been decent.
Sack production really good this year. I don't know that he's been great overall, but
correct. I think a guy that pairs really well with Brzee, if you're looking to continue the youth movement there, is going to be Kenneth Grant.
Yeah. When I seen him there, I agree.
Yeah, you get a big, like a true two-gapping defensive tackle that can play, shade nose all the way to three tech, and someone that can just eat and feast. Kenneth Grant to me is a clear pick to go there. I think Harmon has the opportunity to do like a similar role, but with his, I think that Kenneth Grant pairs better with Brian Brzee.
No, I like that pick. I actually agree with that a lot. Man, Gray Zabel being on the board kind of hurts me because, I feel like him and Donovan Jackson both should be off here, but the Bears revamped their interior offensive line, so it's not a need.
But you revamp them, and you have, Joe Thuney is, 33 years old? So he's 32 years old. He's not going to play forever. A guy like this, with Zabel, he gives you that swing tackle versatility. He can play all five positions. Maybe he makes some competition for the starting center job. I don't hate that. I also think you're sleeping on long snapper for the Bears, Dale. Truth be told, I think that's
an NFC North guy here wants long snapper. Makes sense. How about Ursery? Do you think he could end up being a left tackle?
He plays left tackle right now.
That's what I'm saying. I know that's what he played, but I think some project him to kick inside, or if not, maybe right tackle in the NFL.
I like Ursery. He's my next tackle up. I was talking with Dom C about him. He's he is nothing about what he does looks good, and I wish Parker was still here to talk about it because I love to pick his brain. It doesn't look attractive. It's a really really ugly brand of football, but it's effective and it works. And I think with Ursary that it gives you the opportunity to really put Braxton Jones. Like either, hey man, like we need you.
Is
to
he on
step
the
up
last year of
tackle.
his deal? Is he on the last year of his deal as well? I feel like
It's got to be. If it's not, he's only got 2 left. But last year sounds right. He's 26. He was drafted in the 2022 draft. So yeah, this would be the last year of his deal.
So for me,
wait,
like
this would be. Do they sign 3 or 4 year deals in the 5th round?
4. It's always 4.
Okay, so then he still has 2 years left.
Are they sold on him? Plus, also, like you mentioned, Tooney being older and having depth there at guard that Ursary could probably play. I'm going to put Ursary on the board here.
Okay.
Just because I think he can be versatile once he's in the NFL.
I like that.
The Jets are up. Can you take Derek? I mean, but who would pair with Quinnen Williams? Would Derek Harmon go here?
I think that Harmon would be a little bit more of a luxury pick for them right now. I still think that they have to figure out that right tackle position. So I kind of actually hate that you took Ursary because I would have loved to take Ursary here to the Jets.
Yeah.
I look at them and you've got we took Tyler Warren in the first round.
Yep.
You don't outside of now they restructured Lazard, but once again that's a guy that you're restructuring him solely to help your cap room, not because he's the player of the future. So wide receiver I think is still in play, but those got grabbed really quickly in the first 10 picks of the second round. This has kind of become very quickly a tougher pick just with how the board fell. Like I'd love to go wide receiver or tackle. Man, do they go Derek Harmon just with like BPA though?
Yeah, I don't know. Like because I've got D tackle, O tackle. I've got the same kind of needs up there. Edge. Would they go with an edge rusher?
I mean, you can always use an edge rusher. Oh man,
I know it gets tough. See, this is the thing when you start getting into the second round, it does. It gets
who. I'm trying to think who their cornerbacks. No, they outside of Sauce, they got I'm forgetting Carter. So they're good. They're good there. Probably use some depth. You know what? We're gonna go with we are gonna go with the only wide receiver that I still have on the board there. That's kind of like within this range. We're gonna go with Alec Aomanor out of Stanford. Just try to continue to fill needs, help out the young quarterback, and how they can. I don't love a tackle right here. I think you're reaching a little bit. You got the one guy that I probably would have taken here. Next up for me is Anthony Belton, but it's a little ways down. Not that it's like egregious to take him, but we're gonna go Aomanor.
Yeah, Phil's a touch early. I agree. Phil's early. So we'll put Elick on the board. Who did we take for the 49ers?
Shamar Stewart.
Oh, well, this is easy then. This is very easy. I think they continue to beef up that D line, and that's just where Derek Harmon goes.
I agree. This was truth be told.
That see this, it's going to say Jackson Dart, but the pick is actually Derek Harmon.
Yeah,
this just it fixes the problem when I accidentally clicked him. So Derek Harmon is the pick for the 49ers. We were thinking Walter Nolan potentially in the first, and they got Derek Harmon in the second. I think that's absolutely a fantastic pick for that.
The value there is insane. I think that 49ers fans would walk away from that just being ecstatic.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we've got Dallas up.
Yes.
Who's a running back for Dallas right now? Is it
they lost
Zeke and company?
I guess. I mean, you got some good ones on the board, and we thought that that's a route they could have went if a Genty fell, or maybe they could have taken a Hampton. Yeah, I think running back stands out here. Who did we take in the first for them?
We took in the first Jalen Walker, who
Okay.
I think is a really good versatile piece for that defense to help out. I think they could go wide receiver here, but ultimately, I mentioned it with Alec Elmaynor going. I think that for me, I'd feel like I was reaching on anything else.
I agree.
Oh yeah, they don't even have Zeke anymore. They have Javonte Williams as number one. That made my decision that much easier. I know Edge is up there as a need as well, but I'm going to go with what I and who I like. Put a little bit of a stamp on a guy that I have grown to love throughout this process. We're going to go with Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. He's going to be the running back for the Dallas Cowboys.
I think there's some debate on who running back 3 is, and honestly, I think it's fine if people think it's Johnson, Henderson, or Judkins. I think they all have different roles, but I'm not mad at any of those picks, and I think the Cowboys getting a running back in the second would actually be very smart for that team. So Colts are on the board, and we took, I remember, Colston Loveland for them. So the next thing I have up, edge, D tackle, maybe a right guard. So I'm going to look at edge and D tackle here.
Edge is a little thick right here. At least I think it is.
They took Latu. Who would pair good with Latu for a long term at edge, in your opinion?
I think JTT offers kind of a complimentary role. Now, obviously, like JTT, he's going to make his bread and butter as a pass defender or as a run defender. He doesn't give you a ton of pass rush upside, but I think he's going to be a consistent player and one that's able to hold down. I'm not really super high on him, but like from that aspect of like consistency and what can you bring to the game, I think he does a phenomenal job of that.
And we're at pick 45, and he's a player that's 49th on my board. So Landon Jackson also would be in that conversation. He's at 48. I literally have those guys like right beside each other. I'll go JTT though. I like that. I can't argue with either one of those. I think would be good, solid picks. And now the Falcons are up next, and you hold that one. And who did we take in the first for the Falcons?
Mykel Williams.
I've got corner, center, strong safety, because their center is now in Chicago. So is Zabel going to be a center? Is this a spot for him?
Ooh. I wasn't even thinking that, and now I love that. We're gonna go with Gray Zabel.
Because honestly, I'm surprised he's here at 46. So, and he's my center one. I do have him being a center in the NFL.
Yeah, and I have him as a guard, but I think that he easily could play center. To me, that's nothing that I would balk at. Plus, I think of who's the guard that they have. I can't remember right now, but getting a little bit older as well. Yes, Lidstrom is getting a little bit older. I think that he gives you kind of, once again, a way to be flexible moving forward. So, Gray Zabel, that's a great call out. I love that.
Who do we take for Arizona? I think it was the tackle Will Campbell fell, right?
Correct.
I've got wide receiver, corner, safety, D tackle as needs. I don't know what you have for them as needs, but
exact same thing.
Okay. Oh man, who's at wide receiver? I don't love what's left. I do like Jalen Noel, but
I like Jalen Noel a lot. I think he complements well. But ultimately, like, how much do you think Trey McBride's already doing for you out of that like Y receiver?
Yeah.
But I do like I'm a big Jalen Noel fan.
There's a guy who stands out though for me because he's 34th on my board, and that's Savon Ravel from East Carolina. I know he had the injury, but I got to put him on the board here for the Cardinals because, I mean, Will Johnson was hard to pass on in the first round for those guys. So I'm putting Ravel on the board. I think that's a great pick. Trey Amos would have also been in consideration for me at corner. And Morrison, the hip scares me, but, man, I think he's a very talented player.
Yeah, I agree. When you said Will Campbell, I immediately went to Will Johnson when you made that pick originally. And so, yeah, I think that cornerback is a huge need for them, and I think that'll be a stellar addition. So Miami, we grabbed Nick Amon-Warrior, or Nick Amon-Warrior to kind of be and fill in a lot of the secondary needs that they have. I still think that they could use a cornerback. I don't think that's out of consideration at all. I look and I see a team that,
dude, it's standing out to me. Because I feel like we can collab a little bit on this second round, if you're cool with that.
So my mind was stuck between, I'll tell you, right now it's stuck between Anthony Belton and Trey Amos.
Okay, I'm completely different. I've got the top needs as D tackle, O tackle, guard, and linebacker, and then corner. So Amos definitely in consideration. But O tackle / guard and Donovan Jackson here.
Donovan Jackson
stands out so much for me that they could use a very good guard, play tackle in a pinch if he needs to. But man, he stands out to me. But this is your pick, so ultimately,
I like that because you take a look at Donovan Jackson, he can move out if needed. Like Anthony Belton, I'm not moving him in. I like him on the outside, and I think ultimately, if that's going to be one of the things that you want a guy that can once again help Tua. You need to invest in that.
Did you say hawk Tua or help Tua?
Help Tua, for God's sakes, help Tua.
Help Tua.
You need to help Tua. And you got to protect your investment. So I like that call. Let's go Donovan Jackson.
Yeah, he's 29th on my board. So for me, I'm like, holy shit. And he's 39 here. So I'm like, we're at pick 48. I think that's great value for them.
Yeah, I mean, he's right around there for me, but it's still good value. I mean, we're not reaching on a player by any means. And he does have that versatility, a little bit of flexibility when it comes to position.
Oof, man. Now the Bengals are on the clock, and this is tough because you're to the point to where it's like, okay, you start looking at who's the best on the board. So my board, my rankings, I have Tyleik Williams, but I do not see them going with the run stopper after adding TJ Slayton. My next one is still Benjamin Morrison, 39th overall, and Al Golden connection at corner. But the same reason in the first round, I didn't go at corners because I believe in that room. I think they're going to be high on that. Watts is long gone. You took him in the first. Man, I took Walter Nolan, so Darius Alexander would have been a good pick here for me. Landon Jackson, I think, would be in the conversation. I'm looking at my board, and I'm like, man, this is kind of wild. Tate Ratledge, pair him back up with Mims, I think, is in the conversation. Carson Swessinger is a guy I have 45th overall, and I think if you're going to move on from Pratt, you didn't get the linebacker in the first. This would be a great time to get your linebacker. I like some of the options here, but a guy they've shown interest in, and it's one of the reasons I took Walter Nolan. So they met with him at the Combine and also had him in for a top 30 for Walter Nolan. Another guy they did that for was Jonas Savaiinaea from Arizona, who I do project to play guard, but Mims has a long injury history. So I think, Savaiinaea can play right tackle if Mims is injured because that's what he's done at Arizona. So for me,
similar conversation.
Savaiinaea, and he's 50th on my board. He's 50th on this board. We're at pick 49. It just lines up to where I'm going Jonas Savaiinaea. But if they went with a Benjamin Morrison or they went with a Carson Swessinger, I would like those picks. Even Landon Jackson. Because I think Landon Jackson could be that Sam Hubbard replacement opposite of. Yeah. But he's more athletic than Sam Hubbard, so maybe he can give you something opposite of Trey Henderson. But I'm going with the guard because protect the asset, protect 9. So Jonas Savaiinaea is where I went at pick 49. So Walter Nolan, Jonas Savaiinaea, I think would be fun. And they've shown interest in them. So that's the route I go for the Bengals 2 spots.
That totally makes sense. So we went Kelvin Banks Jr. for the Seahawks in the first round. They're back up. I'm not convinced that they still don't need a A guard.
A center. I mean, the kid from Georgia. Is this too early?
No, I think if you talk to some people down there, I think they really, really like Jared Wilson, and this would not be too early. I know Clint Gross has him like 35 on his board. Wide receiver is like screaming at me, but like,
I got wide receiver right up there in there.
Yeah, we mentioned Jalen Nolan, and there's also Jalen Royals, and it's like both those guys I think are going to be slots, and you have JSN already. All right, we are going to go. I was going to go interior again and double down to really help the inside of that line. I think we can still find some interior players later. I think that this player is going to be able to be a little bit more of an impact early on and help what is a thin room. We're going to go with Jack Besh, wide receiver out of TCU.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy that he would go here. And honestly, Seattle needs a receiver. So it's like you could go a lot of directions here. Jack Besh, for me, is probably a second-round type of guy. So I think that's a good, solid pick. And we took a running back for the Broncos. We took Hampton, I believe.
Correct.
So with him, another team that could use a wide receiver, in my opinion. Safety, man, I don't think there's anything at safety. I've got corner, offensive tackle. What do you have for needs for them? Because I could be off base on their team a little bit.
I've got defensive interior, wide receiver, and linebacker. So I have kind of like differing from you, which is
I have D tackle on there. So after O tackle, I have D tackle, and there's a guy who stands out for me immediately at D tackle, and that's shit. Which type of D tackle do they need? Actually,
that's true.
Because I was thinking Darius Alexander, but Tyleek being here, I actually do have Tyleek. Tyleek's 35th on my board. And Darius Alexander is 43rd. So I do have Tyleek higher if they need the run stopper, the bigger body kind of guy. And I think he could give you something, but he's not going to give you what Darius Alexander can give you as a pass rusher if they need that.
I think you're getting a higher floor at Tyleek. And I know a lot of people still think that he's got the opportunity to kind of come into his own with a
I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
Tyleek, okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I think it's great value to get him there. No, Seahawks are back up again. I didn't. Oh, this is DK Metcalf trade. Why they have two?
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Oh, I haven't updated that yet. Oh, I gotta do that really quick. All right, so we went with Tyleek Williams there. I gotta write this one in.
Oh yeah,
so Seattle Seahawks.
Pick 52. We're going to 64, so the end is near. But I love doing this, and Newt, you've been incredible, man. I love this.
Man, this is I love these. This is so much fun. Especially like once we're right here, breathing down the neck of draft season.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get my guy in there. Seattle, I wanted to do this before. I completely forgot they had the second pick to the Metcalf trade. So they got Jack Besh, who I still stand by would have taken there. I'm gonna get my guy some love. So we're gonna go interior again. And getting Kelvin Banks, I think, gives them a lot of flexibility. This time we're gonna go with a true guard. We're gonna get my guy Luke Kandra out of the University of Cincinnati.
Wow, a lot of people in the simulators think they're gonna get him third, fourth round. Sometimes he even goes later, but I do. Yeah. He tested really well. He's been a very, very good player for Cincinnati. So,
yeah, yes, I mean, it might be a little bit, I guess, of a reach if you want to argue that.
I probably would have argued for Miles Frazier if you were going to go guard.
Okay.
But, and that's my personal board, but I don't
Marcus Bowe, I think, is another player who we could have gone with that little center as well. But I'm gonna get one of my guys on the board. I really like Luke Kandra. I think he needs.
I love it, man. But you spiced it back up, Love it. Good pick. All right. The Buccaneers are up, and I took Jihad Campbell. He fell to them. I still have corner and edges needs. So having corner is that also needs you have that they could use the corner?
Edge and corner, yes. I've got edge, corner, and then defensive interior as well. I feel like every team needs a defensive lineman.
Yeah, well, and that position rotates so much, you can never go wrong taking that position. But the corner for me, because Morrison keeps popping up there, but I'm going to go here to the search, and because that's not popping up right away, I'm going to go Trey Amos. I think he is very worthy of this pick. I like
it.
Okay,
that's
we're
stellar.
On the same page then. And right now, your Green Bay Packers. Who do we take for them? I know it was an absolute steal. Will Johnson, right?
Yeah, we got Will Johnson. That was something I was definitely celebrating. Not
Trey Amos in the second, if you didn't get Johnson, would have been very good.
Correct. Yeah, no, all parts of that were just it worked out well, but Amos wouldn't have been even once again a consolation prize. He would have been he's a good player for where they're picking right here in the second round. All right, so trying to look and see. I'm looking at a pass rusher.
I've got wide receiver, edge, maybe an offensive lineman. Would you agree that those are maybe a tackle, a center, either one of those?
Yeah, those are positions I think they have their starting five figured out, and they even have. So if I take a look from left to right, they have Rashid, they have Ryan, they have Jenkins, and then like Morgan, I think is slotted to go in there, or no, Banks, and then Zach Tom. So you're taking a look at a team that has already Jordan Morgan with the opportunity to compete for one of those spots. And I think if they do that and they do let Jordan Morgan kind of win that out, or if he wins that out, I think you've got a solid 6 offensive linemen. So I think that they will attack it, but not early on.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, yes, but I don't want a slot wide receiver here.
You guys need I feel like if you go receiver, you need a number 1, and you almost got Tet. That would have been huge then to maybe take a corner, even a roll of the dice of a Benjamin Morrison, but at this point in the second, but you got Will Johnson in this scenario. Landon Jackson stands out to me, but this is your squad.
Yeah, I like Landon Jackson. So I think it would be So I've got Jack Sawyer and Josiah Stewart a little bit above Landon Jackson. They both won't be Packer players. Stewart's too small. Jack Sawyer isn't going to meet the athletic profile that they look for. I think I'm going to go with a player
Braden Swinson. Some people like Braden Swinson. Is he in the conversation?
He's definitely in the conversation. So these are the three that I'm kind of stuck between. The two you just mentioned, the two edge rushers in Landon Jackson and Braden Swinson, and Alfred Collins is still on the board, who to me is a player that could realistically be a really, really good interior rusher. Oh man, with Braden Swinson on the board though, let's pull the trigger. Let's go Braden Swinson. Actually,
okay. It's tough. This is your squad. I get it. You go back and forth.
No, here I'm gonna go with what I wanted to originally do. We're gonna go Alfred Collins.
Okay.
The reason is for the Alfred Collins, I think from what I've heard, they really want to lean into Lucas Van Ness this year and give him an opportunity to grow and develop. And I think they sound really confident in that. I don't think it precludes them from taking an edge, but I think here, if they were to snag Alfred Collins, you're helping yourself out with Kenny Clark getting a little bit older, Devontae Wyatt's rookie contract coming up, and just some depth in there to start. So we're going to go Alfred Collins here.
Yeah, and he's 59th on my board. It's not crazy.
No.
and you know your squad pretty well, and he's one of the higher players left. Like Landon Jackson, I have at 48 on my board, so that was the reason I mentioned him. I think he could slot in pretty good there. But the Chargers for me now is pretty easy because I got Mason Taylor at 55. They didn't get their tight end in the first, but getting a Mason Taylor here at 55, he's 55th on my board. Once again, it's the symmetry there.
I like that. I mean, they need that so bad. And Travion
would have been a good pick too.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think you grab Tet and it doesn't preclude anything, and it just makes you you're doing a ton to help out Justin Herbert.
Yes. Getting Tet McMillan and Mason Taylor in the first 2 rounds, you're welcome, Chargers fans, because help Herbert take that step, to win a playoff game.
Absolutely.
That's what you guys need.
Absolutely.
Now the Bills, we took a receiver. We took Matthew Golden. So
this would have been somewhere if I didn't take him for the Packers. Alfred Collins.
I agree.
Yeah. We're gonna go. We're gonna go with
Alexander.
Yeah, we're gonna go Alexander.
Yeah, that stands out to me like immediately, because to me, I think he could go into the first. I know he's an older guy coming from Toledo, but I think he's that talented. So
I agree.
Getting him here toward the end of the second for the Bills, I think would be a great pick.
Absolutely agree. I think it's stellar.
Panthers. So the Panthers are back up. We took an edge, I believe, for them, right?
Yep, we took Nick Skirton.
Yeah, that was the first big shock of the Draft-A-Palooza 2-rounder here on Bengals and Brews.
Hold the phone. I think Parker set his up with taking Malachi Starks.
Oh, that's fair.
Overall.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Parker did it.
I want to give him his due. He's the one. He laid the groundwork. Right. He was the brave soul that jumped in first.
And then we said, we're off and running. I love this already. Because it makes it fun, right? It's not like every other exercise. You're doing something different. So, I've wide receiver, linebacker, safety, corner, guard, center. O tackle, D tackle. They could go a lot of directions. Corner, maybe. I know they re-signed Horn to long term, but could they use another corner outside of that? Was it Jackson?
I don't think you're ever afraid to take a cornerback that could be helpful. In my opinion, we took care of the biggest position of need with edge for them. But they're
I got linebacker up there, and Carson Swessinger is still there.
Because they lost Frankie Louvu last year, and they didn't necessarily do a ton, in my opinion, to fill that void.
Because to me, it's I think there's round one linebacker, and that's Campbell, and that all hinges on the health. And then I think there's 1 second-round linebacker, and I think that's Swessinger.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fight you on that. I think it's a very thin linebacker class. I got a couple guys that maybe pop up a little bit more in the third, but I think it's
same.
I view Walker as a linebacker, but obviously he's a little bit more unique than that. But I
put him at edge, but it's kind of he's definitely going to play some linebacker. Yeah.
Yep. But I've got Campbell, Schwessinger, and then I got 3 guys, but they are definitely a tier below. So I think Schwessinger is clearly in a little bit of a higher tier and would make a ton of sense.
Yeah. I'm going to put it on the board just because I think he's talented enough. He's 46th here. He is 45th on wow. Me and Incomings, man. I have not looked at Pro Football Network Simulator and their rankings, but he's a guy we've had on the show a lot last year. Now he's back into it. We've had him on the show. And it's kind of crazy how close we have some of these prospects.
That's awesome. Yeah, you love to see that one.
Fantastic, by the way. Guy is. Have you ever interacted with him?
No, I have not had the opportunity to.
I would love to have you on with him because, man, he's incredible. I talk about Dane Brugler. Everyone does. Dane Brugler, Daniel Jeremiah. I think that's his future is to be one of those guys. Matt Miller. I think he's going to literally be a guy that does this, that's on TV one day if he sticks with it.
That's awesome, and you love seeing it from a guy that actually knows his stuff. I know there's always like rumblings of, media personality versus a guy that really does it. And you like to see the guys that really put and grind it, getting their due. So no, I'd love to be a part of that conversation at some point. Trust me, Dale, you don't have to twist my arm there.
Yeah, and we talked about doing a mock draft sometime, but we'll figure it out with him. I would love that because I think you guys would hit it off. He's very talented. So the Texans, I took O tackle. I took Josh Simmons. I remember that one too.
Yeah, I think here, once again, I think they need still a wide receiver help. It's not as pressing, but once again, we're left with slot wide receivers that are kind of up there. And they have Tank Dell. Obviously, the injury is really scary. Maybe it doesn't preclude you from taking that there, but their offensive line still in a bad way needs help. And I don't think there's any two ways about it where you can say, you got this guy here. They need help bad. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get who my best interior offensive lineman is on the board. I'm going to get Tate Ratledge to the Houston Texans.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's he's definitely high on my list. Let me look on my Yep. He's the next guy for me. I got him at 56th overall. We're at 58. Yep. Boom. That value, everything lines up. Yeah. He's the highest one left. A little above Imbo. I do like Miles Frazier. How do you feel about Miles Frazier from LSU? Because I got him a little lower. I got him like 70, but it's also like he would be in the conversation.
So I don't think he's kind of like jumps down to that tier below for me. He on my board is around he's just like in the 120s for me. So he's down a little bit. I'm not crazy about him. I know that there's a lot of people that like kind of were really drawn to him this year. I feel like I almost have to go back and take a look at him just because I feel like a little bit of an oddball as of late, and I want to go back and see if it's something that I'm missing.
Dude, everybody's different. That's like, it always kills me when people will like get mad because like, no, you're too high or too low on that guy. It's like, man, everybody has an opinion. I mean, even the teams, man, it's so hard the hit rate is so low.
Yeah.
Even round one is not great, but once you get outside of round one, it just continues to nosedive for the hit rate on picks. So it's all subjective,
I mean, and I take a look like Bo, we mentioned his name. He's still there. We haven't even talked about Wyatt Milam at all.
Yeah.
He's another guy. He's like that.
I think he's third round. He scares me.
Yeah.
I love what he did at tackle, but it's like he's projected to move into guard, and he did not have a good Senior Bowl. That's honestly the thing for me. I'm just like, it's too hard for me to project.
No, and I totally get that. And so I think that there's like a couple guys up there. So Frazier would be right behind Milam. So like I said, he's kind of in that next group down, like Milam, Frazier, and then maybe I'd probably toss a Connor Colby in there. I like Connor Colby a lot. I know I'm a little bit higher on him than consensus. And then probably another tier down from there. But I got Ratledge still.
I think that's a good pick. Very good pick.
Yeah.
They need O-line, and getting Ratledge and Josh Simmons. I mean, help your guy out. Help Stroud out. The line killed him last year, and they still made the playoffs. Texans, I got Baltimore now. We took edge, right? Yep. Is that where Mike Green went?
James Pierce Jr.
He went with Pierce at the last. Yep, that's what Parker put. So I got guard, corner, safety, linebacker.
Yep.
Benjamin Morrison. I know we talked about TJ Tampa, and that's why we didn't go corner in the first with Barron there when that was a little bit in the thought of Parker. But Benjamin Morrison, I know the hip is scary, but he could be a shutdown corner, and that's something they've needed for a while.
Yeah,
he seems out to me, but
I love. I mean, we're looking at this 6 months ago, and Benjamin Morrison's a top 20 pick.
Easily.
The hip injury is scary, but if it's something that he can get cleared from, I think he can be a really, really good player. So I really like that pick.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on the board. I think that one's fairly easy, and I think that's another one that I could be like, wow, the Ravens did it again. They got another. And the guy they took last year from Clemson's really good. I'm blanking on the name.
Clemson. Oh, you're talking about why am I blanking on the name now? Too?
I know, because I blanked on the name. That's how it works, right?
He's like the true cover corner.
Nate Wiggins.
Nate Wiggins, yeah. Man, that was
I hate when I blank on a name. Like, it drives me
I
crazy.
probably could have woke up in a dead sleep and said Nate Wiggins played for Clemson, but like the minute you're like, I'm forgetting the name, it was contagious.
It always happens. The Lions,
right,
took Ed. Did I take Green here then? Since he
yeah, Green went here. This is one.
I
The
don't
Lions
know
have an
where they
embarrassment
go.
of riches, man. They
have
have
no idea.
That whole team is clicking so much.
They lost the guard. They lost Zeitler.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking. Frank Ragnow is not getting. He's not old, but he's younger than I thought. Actually, I thought he was in his 30s. He's only 28, so I take that back. I'm out here calling Frank Ragnow an old man, and he's 28.
Well, he feels old because he went one pick before the Bengals when we took Billy Price. The Lions traded up and took him, and it was like, what the hell? Because we needed him, and then we took Billy Price at center at 21, and that set us back. I mean, I love Billy Price as an Ohio State fan, but damn, Frank Ragnow has been phenomenal. So it does seem like he's older. I agree. It seems like he's
Frank Ragnow, I've got 5 years on you, and I just called you an old man. I apologize for that. That was quite rude of me. All right, so I'm still gonna lean into that train of thought though, because Graham Glasgow is in his early 30s. You've got that
Imbo, right?
It's
Imbo. He's 69 on my board. We're at 60. I do have him above Frazier. Frazier is actually 80. I said 70 earlier. He's 80th overall. I think Imbo, though, is the next guy up. And I know he's played tackle at Purdue, but projected to kick in and play guard. He don't have the size and this and that. Yeah, this one makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Oh, he must be listed at tackle still, though, for this
Yeah,
one.
he might be. I'll say he's played right tackle his entire time at Purdue.
And he's 60th overall, and he goes at pick 60.
Look at that.
Wow. Incomings knows what we're doing before we do. That's crazy.
Mind reader.
Yeah. What kind of voodoo is this shit? Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. All right, so we got the Commanders. The Commanders, I don't remember what we took.
Donovan Ezeraku.
Yes, our edge. I've got corner. Yeah, because I thought we were going to go corner. So corner, because that's when we had to talk about Marshawn Lattimore, and we blanked on that name. But corner, wide receiver, potentially. I know they traded for Deebo Samuel. O-tackle, safety, linebacker. They could go a lot of directions here.
I mean, there's a cornerback that's still up there. That's pretty dang good. Darian Porter's on the board still.
Hairston.
Oh, Maxwell Hairston too. I was thinking Porter, but Hairston too.
I'm good with either. I have Hairston at 47 overall. I have Porter at 74. We're at pick 61.
Well, I'll say it's your. I'm probably honestly flipped around on those guys.
Which is fair. I think Porter has better length. And do they need an outside corner? They do, actually, because I think the best position, because I think Hairston could be a slot corner, and they drafted the guy. I know he played outside last year from Michigan, Sanderstill.
Yeah, Mikey Sanderstill.
I like Porter here as well.
Yeah, I think Porter would be really good here. Yeah, I think he'd be stellar to pair up with Marshawn Lattimore. Yeah, if you got Mikey Sanderstill.
Yeah.
But once again, if you like Harrison better, I don't.
No, I'm going Porter because it makes more sense for the team. You know, it makes more sense to get the outside corner, in my opinion. So I think that was a great call on your part. I seen Harrison, and I was like, damn, he's a guy I feel like is going to go earlier in real life. Kentucky's turning out corners.
I agree with that.
J.Q. Hardaway is the next one, by the way. I think he's going to be good next year. He was good this year.
Are you talking about Iowa State?
No, for Kentucky, because I was talking about Harrison,
Oh,
J.Q. Hardaway.
Oh yeah, Hardaway. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the Bills up. This is their third pick. They took Matthew Golden and Darius Alexander. I think that Bills would agree that that is going to be probably their biggest positions of need. Maybe cornerback, though. So I think we circle back to that.
Yeah, Harrison is 47. He's a top player on my board.
Is he?
Yeah.
I can't just like ignore that then. Like I said, he's a little bit lower for me.
Well, I want to ask about Makuba, because I think could they use?
I think
safety?
safety's a need.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I like Makuba. I think second maybe too early.
Well, I mean, once again, we're at pick.
Not for me.
16th.
Not for me. He's 58th on my board, so it's not.
Yeah, he's probably right around there for me too. We're pick 62. This is, you can break it and say it's an early third round pick if you really like to.
He's 69 on this board. Okay.
I like Makuba better than Harrison. As I'm looking at my board, he's still up there as a player of need. Or I'm sorry, as a top player, and it's going to hit a position of need in my opinion. One thing that I wonder is, do they want also like an outside edge rusher? Von Miller, I'm guessing won't be back, or has he already been cut?
They did bring in, I know Michael Hogt, or however you say his name, from the Rams. I know he's suspended 6 games, but they did bring in some D linemen as well.
Oh, I forgot. They got Joey Bosa as well.
I forgot, actually. Too.
I forgot about Joey Bosa.
I knew they brought in a bunch of guys, because they brought in Larry Ogunjobi, who also got suspended.
It's suspended.
Games. It's crazy. But those guys will be back for the long term for them.
Correct. And I know they love DeMar Hamlin, and that's kind of a really fun story.
But you can upgrade that.
Yeah, I don't as awesome as it is. I think that you want a guy that can really be an impact. Let's go with Andrew Makuba. I like that from Texas.
I do too. I think that pick makes a lot of sense. And maybe Kevin Winston would be in the conversation, who's the next safety there. Who do we take for the Chiefs?
You wanted to go defensive interior to begin with, right?
I did. I wanted to go Harmon because I didn't think he necessarily would get there, but then I think that we went with O-line because...
Yeah, we went Conley Jr. I've got Jordan Birch and Bull Rush McIntyre, TJ Sanders are
yes, Bull Rush McIntyre, shout out Stock Exchange.
Yeah, they're both those guys are on my board.
Bull Rush McIntyre is 53rd on my board.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Jordan Birch just a touch ahead of him, but Jordan Birch is probably a little bit more of that he's probably more of an edge than he's an interior player.
I got him at 79, and I do think he's more of an edge.
So, I mean, the other thing is, and we're not going to hit this today, they've got pick 66.
Okay. So they're coming back up. They could get Jordan Birch. Yeah,
and maybe not even that. Maybe they revitalize the running back room with the Pacheco injury this year. They want to continue to add there. Maybe they go
receiver. Potentially because they got a lot of drama with the receiver room on the law. Breaking the law.
I mean, your call.
Let's go Bull Rush McIntyre just so we can put Bull Rush McIntyre on the board.
I love it.
Because they lost their other D tackle that got 7 sacks for them. He ended up going to the Panthers after Milton Williams decided to switch from the Panthers to the Patriots.
Patriots.
I'm blanking on the guy's name for the
2
Chiefs,
hours.
But he had 7 sacks last year. I'm blanking on the name, but he was a guy I was hoping the Bengals would be interested in as well. So, Bull Rush McIntyre.
The Packers actually in the epic mock it's going on right now. Packers got Bull Rush in the second, and I was like, I can live with this. I love it.
It's Bull Rush McIntyre. How could you not?
Hats off.
Last pick.
All right, so
we've done it. We took Xavier Watts, right? You took Xavier.
Yeah, took Xavier Watts.
Bull Rush McIntyre would have been in play here for the Eagles for me as well.
He would have been in play. Actually, kind of gamed myself there a little bit. I wonder if they at all think to like look for the future when their tackles start to get a little bit older, if they like one of them here. I think that they're still in, very much like, hey, what can we do to keep the pressure on?
They're a team that
think
takes
the Eagles
BPA a lot, though.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean they grab the dollar bills that everyone leaves laying around.
So BPA on here is Landon Jackson. It's actually BPA for me at edge. He's 48 for me. Maxwell Hairston's 47, but I don't think they go that route after taking 2 corners. So they did lose Josh Sweat to the Cardinals.
And then,
obviously don't need a running back. I got Juckins at 57, Elijah Arroyo at 60. Could they use a tight end? Because
Dallas Goedert.
It's very lower on my need list, but it is on there.
Goddard's 30. I don't know. I look like Bryce Huff did not produce for them last year.
True.
No, they've got Josh Uche, who's
Is this a Jordan Birch spot because they think he can replace some of the edge pass rush and also the interior defensive line?
I think it is because they play a 3-4, and I really like Jordan Birch going to a spot like that where he can play that 5-tech. Let's put Jordan Birch.
I love that.
Put him on the board. Definitely.
I don't know what he's listed at for these guys, but let's try
I would guess edge.
First. Yeah, I would too.
God, Landon Jackson still on the board is ridiculous.
Yeah, Landon Jackson in the 3rd. Somebody's going to be very happy about that. Same thing with Maxwell Hairston and Quinshon Juckins, Elijah Arroyo. That's some of the top guys on my board. But man, good draft, man. We can maybe recap this on Twitter more, have some fun with it on there. Each team's picks or something. I know they do that, but also just tune into the episode. Tell a friend, tell everybody. This is for the chat, not you, Newt, because man, I need you to tell everybody that I'm glad it puts the Ravens up too. Pierce and Morrison, that's good picks for the Ravens. Always happens.
Yeah.
Happens in real life too. But wow, man, what a show! What a freaking show! I absolutely loved that, man. A great time. Stuff. I knew when I had you on the first time, I was like, and I was on there on Draft Fanatic, Draft Professor. I was like, man, this is my guy right here. I vibe with this guy. The job you do in real life is not always the easiest job. We don't always get all the credit for that kind of job, but so I always respect that, number one. But number two, you love the draft just like I do. And I had you on the show, and I'm like, man, me and Parker always do this thing. I'm like, Newt, I would love to have you on that one too. And here we are, man. And thank you. It was tough kind of scheduling all this. Everybody's got different schedules and stuff. But at the same point in time, just incredible. You took time out of your family to do this. Tell everybody where to find you. And maybe I'll have you back on. I mean, we're in the hype part of the draft.
Yeah,
if the schedule works out, because we got 2 weeks to go.
Like I said, man, when I get to be on here and you hear that intro video, it's just like, I'm ready to go.
Stripes.
Stripes. But you can find me realistically, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, at NFL Draft _Weston. That's where I put a ton of my thoughts, predictions, weigh-in on what's kind of hot, what's not in NFL draft. And it's pretty much geared just towards the NFL draft, NFL and NCAA football. With that, I've been doing some like team specific mocks. I've been finishing some player scouting reports, just trying to get anything and everything I can up what are we, like 10 days till the NFL draft? I've got a countdown on my website.
It's so exciting.
It's absolutely insane to think about how close we are. We are 11 days, 23 hours, 46 minutes, and 39 seconds away.
You got the countdown going.
I got it. And actually, speaking of which, you can also see some of my work on my website, zerotechdraft.com. That's where I put my big board and some of my official mock drafts that I do, as well as those scouting reports. So those two places, Additionally, you can find me Thursdays running or as a co-host of Mrs. Irrelevant with NFL Draft Fanatic. That's Thursdays 9 p.m. On there. Has been a wonderful place to look for it. So, Dale, for you, thank you so much for having me on. This is a ton of fun. The sentiments are the same when we've gotten the opportunity to work together, and being able to do this with Parker today was great too.
Yeah, man, and I low key kind of do root for the Packers in the NFC, like Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, now Jordan Love. I did not love that pick, and wow,
no one did. Yeah.
I honestly thought you guys were going to take T. Higgins. I was like, the Packers should take T. Higgins. Then we got him, so it worked out for both teams, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Packers were in win now mode, so it's kind of tough to walk away. And
that was the
like,
part that, that's where I was. Yeah, you're like, yeah, we could have had a Super Bowl, so no, it didn't. I feel that.
I don't know. Like the other thing is, though, we're still relevant, and there are so few franchises that can point to a 30-year timeline and say, yeah, within there we had like 4 losing seasons. And it's just like that's phenomenal as a Packer fan. Now, kind of getting past just like being okay, and let's go back and be dominant again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I love the success you guys have, and all the best and all the success to you and what you do with the draft and zero draft technique, right?
Zero tech draft.
Zero tech draft. I was close.
Yep.
I was close.
You were very close.
But yeah, and obviously at NFL Draft _Weston. Follow him, man. He's a great follow. He's a great draft guy, and he's just a great guy in general. Thank you, Newt, man.
Thank you, Dale.
Going to end this one. I appreciate everybody for tuning in.